Welcome, everyone. This is your friend, the DN What If, here with another exciting fanfiction. Today, we're diving into the story of what if Deku was more mentally flexible with One for All? If you enjoy this video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more fanfiction content just like this. Now, let's get started with the fanfic. It all began in KK City in China with the news that a bioluminescent baby was born. After that, exceptional individuals began popping up all over the world. The cause was unclear. Time passed and the exceptional became the norm. Fantasy became reality. At present, 80% of the world's population consists of superhumans with special abilities. The world is in chaos. And a profession that everyone once only dreamed about entered the spotlight. Get away! A giant villain yelled out as a wooden hero was fighting him. Turning into a monster? What a crazy quirk! One civilian, a man, watching the fight exclaimed. What did he do? He asked. Tried to steal a purse and started rampaging when he got cornered. A woman answered the man. A villain appeared. That's right. I'm at the train station. Not sure when I'll get in. One man said into a phone in the chaos of the crowd watching the fight between the giant villain and wooden hero. Get him, Kamui. A group of fangirls screamed as they watched the wooden hero fight, clearly enamored with the man currently winning the fight. Who's fighting him? A green-haired boy, Izuku Midoriya, asked in excitement. Illegal use of abilities during rush hour as well as robbery and assault? Kamui Woods questioned incredulously. You're pure evil, he said in disgust. It's Kamui Woods. Izuku realized as he pulled out his notebook. The popular young superstar. He said as he was writing down in the notebook about the fight and how Kamui Woods fought and used his quirk. A running commentary, huh? An older man said next to the green-haired boy. Kid, are you a fanboy? Yes, the kid. Heh. Izuku told the man. Your punishment. Kamui Woods started saying. Go get him, tree man. The older man called out to the hero. Here it comes. It's his preemptive binding. Izuku said that last part along with Kamui Woods. Lacquered chain prison. Kamui Woods yelled out as he stretched his arm into multiple branches and reached towards the giant villain. Canyon cannon. A giant lady yelled as she drop-kicked the giant villain before Kamui Woods' branches could attach themselves to the villain. There was a gaggle of paparazzi immediately on the scene, taking pictures and repeatedly chanting, It's her. Very creepy-like. Today's my debut. The giant lady exclaimed to the crowd below her. Pleased to meet you all. You can call me MD Lady. She introduced herself to the crowd and earned cheers from the crowd. Along with exceptional abilities came an explosion in the crime rate. While nations struggled to overhaul their legal systems, brave individuals took up the mantle of heroes straight out of comic books protecting people from evildoers. With public support, some quickly acquired the right to serve as heroes in an official capacity. Depending on their performance, they have the potential to earn government pay, fame, and glory. Gigantification, huh? It's a common and quite powerful quirk. But could the threat of public property destruction limit its use? Depends on whether or not she can manipulate her size at will. Izuku rambled in a muttered voice. Taking notes. I guess you want to be a hero yourself. Good luck. The old man next to Izuku told the boy. Izuku raised his head from his notebook and turned to face the man. Thanks. I'll try. He said with a smile on his face and determination in his heart. The scene changed to a middle school where Izuku attends. He is in class and they are talking about what they want to do after next year. You guys are all third years now. The teacher said to his class. It's time to start thinking about your futures. He said as he was swinging a piece of paper around. Izuku was holding his head down and writing in his notebook, probably about the fight he witnessed and how to use the quirks he saw in various ways. He was always doing that and had a flexible mind when it came to others' quirk use. I would hand out these future career forms, but I assume you all want to be heroes. The teacher exclaimed, causing most if not all of the class to start using their quirks indoors. One kid was pulling out his eyes from their sockets, one puffed out his face to huge proportions, and another was growing spikes from his fist. Yes, you all have wonderful quirks. But you know it's against the rules to use them in school. The teacher exclaimed as he saw how rowdy his students were becoming. Teacher, don't lump me in with these losers. A blond spiky-haired boy, Kaken yelled. As if I had anything like their crappy quirks. Peh. He said in an indoor voice. Get over yourself, Kaken. One of the students yelled at Kaken. This made Kaken very angry. Shut up. Extras should act like extras. He yelled, almost growled, angrily. Ah, Bakugu. You, of course, must be aiming for high school. The teacher said to Kaken, but mostly to the class. That national school? The cutoff score this year is 79, right? One student asked, astonished at Kaken's boldness. I hear they barely accept anyone. Another student exclaimed. Ah, the stupid chattering of extras. Kaken started. I aced the mock exam. I'm the only one here with the stuff for you. He told the class. I'll even surpass All Might and become the best hero out there. He continued on. Not to mention that I'll be one of the richest people in the world. He added but was stopped by the teacher as he had something to say. You're also going for UA, aren't you, Midoriya? The teacher said, probably to get Kaken to stop yelling at the class. Everyone turned to look at the cowering green-haired boy looking down at his notebook. One of the students even elongated his neck to emphasize his turning of his head. Kaken was glaring holes into Izuku's skull. Everyone but Kaken started to laugh at Izuku's dream. Kaken was just menacingly glaring at Izuku. Huh. Midoriya? No way. One student exclaimed while laughing. Good grades alone can't get you into the hero program. Another student exclaimed. That's not necessarily true. Sure, there's no precedent, but... Izuku started to say but was interrupted by Kaken as he shoved a foot on Izuku's desk. Come on, Deku. Kaken screamed in Izuku's face, throwing an explosion in the green-haired boy's face, blowing him back several feet onto the ground. Whoa! Izuku said as he flew. Kaken got back into Izuku's face. Forget the crappy quirks. He started. You're totally quirkless. He said in a yell. And you think you can rub shoulders? With me? Kaken asked angrily. Wait, no, Kaken. Izuku tried to stop Kaken, but he couldn't back away from him, being stopped by a wall. I wasn't saying I could compete with you. Not at all. Izuku tried to lessen Kaken's anger. I mean it. He defended himself. It's just been my dream since I was little. And well, he trailed off, not very confident in this next part. There's no harm in trying, he said weakly. Kaken just got angrier and angrier, his hands glowing from heat, ready to explode at a moment's notice. Try. Try what? The entrance exam. Kaken started screaming at max volume. You're taking the exam just to try? He asked, still screaming angrily with his explosive temper. What can you even do? One student asked Izuku from the crowd that gathered around the two boys as they had their confrontation. In another part of the city, a sludge villain was running past civilians. Thief, someone stop him. A woman exclaimed as she was the victim of the sludge villain. Catch me if you can. The sludge villain said as he ran through a pole. Someone's bound to show up. One civilian said. This guy must have been inspired by the chaos this morning. Lots of people out there who just can't control their quirks, I guess. Another civilian said as a scrawny old man coughed behind the crowd watching the sludge villain run by. There's no end to them. The same person said as the scrawny guy turned into an extremely buff guy. Yes, there is. The extremely buff guy started, drawing the nearby people's attention. Why, you ask? 'Cause I am here, he said in a proud and confident voice, revealing himself to be All Might, the #1 hero in Japan, maybe the world. Back at Izuku's middle school, the kids were starting to leave the classroom behind and Izuku was packing his bag as Kaken started to walk up to him with two lackeys behind the explosive human Pomeranian. I'd better get home and get my notes in order, Izuku said to himself as he picked up his notebook off of his desk, but it was taken from him by Kaken. We ain't done here, Deku. Kaken told Izuku as he grabbed the notebook from Izuku's hand. What's that, Kaken? One of Kaken's lackeys asked. For my future? Seriously? This guy, Midoriya, the other lackey started, but was interrupted by Izuku. See, come on. Give it back. Izuku said as he reached for his notebook from Kaken. Kaken then exploded the notebook between both of his hands. Whew! Izuku exclaimed, worried for his notebook. Izuku got really angry and started to resent Kaken and how he used his quirk. For a faint second, he could see a string coming off of Kaken leading to Izuku, but it disappeared when he lost focus. Izuku didn't have time to wonder what that was about because Kaken then threw Izuku's notebook out of the window. The best heroes out there, well, they showed signs of greatness even as students. Kaken told Izuku after he threw the notebook out of the window. I'll be the first and only student from this crappy public middle school. The first to win the honor of becoming a student at UA High. Guess I'm just a perfectionist. He explained, shrugging smugly at that last part. So vain. Izuku thought to himself as he stared out of the window where his notebook had been thrown out of. In other words, Kaken started, putting a hand on Izuku's shoulder. Don't get into you a nerd. He finished, starting to heat up his hand on Izuku's shoulder. Izuku was about to say something about the way Kaken used his quirk and saw the string again, but lost the nerve in the face of the anger that was Kaken. Geez. Typical. Come on, say something, one of Kaken's lackeys said, embarrassed for Izuku. He can't say anything. He's so lame. Even as a third-year student, he still can't face reality. Kaken told his lackeys and especially Izuku. You want to be a hero so bad? I've got a time-saving idea for you. Kaken said as he stopped at the door of the classroom. If you think you'll have a quirk in your next life, go take a swan dive off of the roof. He said before walking out of the classroom and having his lackeys following him. Idiot. If I really jumped, you'd be charged with bullying me into suicide. Think before you speak. Izuku thought to himself as he let some time pass to let Kaken and his lackeys get far enough ahead of him before leaving the classroom. Izuku went down to where the notebook was thrown, grateful that it missed the koi pond, only landing on the edge of the pond. He picked it up and wrote some notes on Kaken in it as he walked home. He remembered back into his childhood when he was watching the video of All Might saving 100 people in one go. It was awe-inspiring for little Izuku. He also remembered the time he was diagnosed as quirkless. Little Izuku was heartbroken at the diagnosis. All because of an extra bone in his body. I've decided that I don't care what anyone says. I'm going to keep my chin up and keep moving forward. As Izuku thought this, the sludge villain from earlier this morning came out of the sewer hole and captured Izuku. As Izuku started to freak out and struggle, the villain started to talk to him. I'm just hijacking your body. Calm down. He started to enter Izuku's mouth and nose now. It'll only hurt for about 45 seconds, then it'll all be over, the sludge villain told Izuku, probably having done this before. I'm saved. You're a real hero. I never thought that he'd show up in this town. He said as Izuku started to pass out from lack of oxygen. The next thing Izuku felt was a rapid slapping on his cheek. He blearily opened his eyes and found All Might, his most favorite hero, standing above him. Izuku was in an excited shock. Thank goodness. All Might said as he noticed that Izuku opened his eyes and stopped slapping his cheek. You're okay. Excellent. All Might said as he backed away to give Izuku some room. Apologies for getting you caught up in my villain hunt. He apologized to the green-haired boy. Mistakes aren't really my style, but this is a strange land to me. And besides, I'm off camera. Ha! All Might laughed at his little joke as Izuku sat up from the ground. Izuku had so many questions about his quirk, and when he looked at All Might, he saw 9 strings coming off of him, but they disappeared when he blinked. What is happening to my eyes? Izuku asked himself as he looked around for both his notebook and the sludge villain. But my success here is all thanks to you. All Might continued, holding up a bottle of sludge with eyeballs in it. I've contained the villain. He added as he presented the villain in the bottle. That can't be humane transport, but you gotta use what you can when your villain is liquid. Izuku thought as he watched his favorite hero hold up the bottle like a prize in a video game. It's also All Might. Just here. He's really here. Up close, I can really see he is drawn in a completely different style. Izuku thought as well, increasing his search for his notebook to get All Might's autograph. He found his notebook and opened it to find that All Might already signed it across both pages. Thank you, All Might, sir, for both saving me and giving me your autograph, Izuku said in gratitude as he stood up and bowed repeatedly. He saw that All Might was walking away. I have to ask him. All Might, wait, he exclaimed as All Might crouched down to do a super jump. Izuku grabbed onto All Might just as he launched into the air, flying off with him. Hey now! All Might exclaimed, a little weirded out by a fan just grabbing him as he was flying through the air. Release me! Such enthusiasm is a bit much, he told the green-haired boy as steam started coming off of his body. If I let go now, I'll die. Izuku yelled loud enough to be heard through the wind. True enough, All Might said with a sigh as he changed position to descend onto a nearby roof, grabbing onto the kid and holding him up so he didn't hit the roof. I need to ask you so many things, you, Izuku started but was cut off by All Might. Okay. Just do me a favor and close your eyes and mouth, All Might said, disgusted to look at Izuku as his eyes and mouth flapped open in the high wind. He then started to cough. Crap, he whispered to himself. All Might landed on a roof as more and more steam let off his body. He put the kid down and took a seat against the roof wall as his transformations started waning back into his scrawny form. On the ground, the sludge villain was laying in his bottle, trying to unscrew the lid from the inside and successfully did so, and just as Kaken and his lackeys walked by, the villain took his chance on the boy who was letting off explosions and attacked him. Back on the roof, Izuku was looking as his favorite hero turned small and weak. That didn't stop him from asking his question. Can a person be a hero like you, even if they don't have a quirk? He braced himself for his explanation. Because I don't have a quirk, I have been bullied all my life since I learned that fact. Izuku was starting to cry. Maybe that's why I think that saving people is the coolest thing someone can do. The way you save people with that fearless smile. I want to be a hero, just like you. Izuku finished his explanation, tears leaving his eyes as a more positive feeling of getting through it made him feel slightly better. You're not even fazed by how I've shrunk? Was all Might could say as he listened to Izuku. I remember a fight with Toxic Chainsaw that left you pretty battered 5 years ago, plus all the other fights that you have had over the years couldn't have left you unscathed forever, so I expected it would take its toll on you in some form. Though, I didn't expect you to shrink so much in 5 years. Izuku explained. Now answer my question. Can someone be a hero, smiling just like you, without a quirk? He wanted to ask why he had 7 quirks but didn't know where that thought came from. No one has multiple quirks. The reason I smile is to stave off the overwhelming pressure and fear I feel. All Might started. A pro hero should always be ready to risk their life. He continued, coughing up blood. Without power, can one become a hero? No, I should think not. He finished, wiping the blood off his mouth as he got up and walked towards the door down from the roof. If you want to help people, become a policeman. I don't know what else to say. I'm sorry. All Might told Izuku as he walked through the door and headed down the stairs. Izuku stayed up on the roof, staring over the edge of it for the longest while, thinking about what Kaken said before at school. He waited a few minutes before he stepped away from the edge and walked down the stairs after All Might. Something told Izuku that All Might used to be quirkless as well, but gained a quirk from somewhere. That was how he had 9 strings. Izuku took the steps down 2 at a time, trying to catch up with All Might, but couldn't reach him by the time he reached the bottom and couldn't see him when he exited the building, but there was a crowd forming near where he was and went to investigate. Wow. Some sort of hardcore villain? One person in the crowd asked as Izuku reached them. Go get him, heroes! Another person exclaimed as explosions sounded off and Izuku immediately thought of Kaken. Izuku pushed past everyone in the crowd to get a look at what Kaken was doing now, but it was the sludge villain attacking him, trying to hijack Kaken's body. Izuku rushed past the barrier some water hero was making and ran to help Kaken, not even thinking about what he was doing. It was an instinct. Izuku threw his bag at the sludge villain and avoided some explosions from Kaken. He reached the sludge villain and tried to wrest Kaken out of the sludge liquid. "I don't need your help, Deku," Kaken yelled as Izuku pulled off some of the sludge off of his mouth momentarily. "Looks like you do," Izuku said defiantly. "The heroes here are useless here and are choosing to do nothing and let you die as this villain tries to hijack your body. Nobody else will help you, because they either don't know you, or hate your guts for being such an a-hole at times." Izuku didn't know what came over him. It may have been hearing his favorite hero tell him that he couldn't be a hero, it could have been seeing that the heroes there chose to let a kid die over at least trying to help, or maybe it was all of Izuku's pent-up anger at Kaken boiling over at finally having the upper hand at the moment. At that moment, All Might, in his muscle form, picked Izuku off of the sludge villain and Kaken and put him on the ground. He then threw a punch that liquefied the villain once more and got it off of Kaken. He then put the sludge villain back in the bottle and handed it to one of the heroes on the scene and jumped away without a word to anyone. After All Might left, Izuku was yelled at for running in there as a child and doing something reckless while Katsue was being praised for his quirk, even though it stopped the heroes from getting close to him to save him. Izuku hated it but had to deal with it. But every time he wanted to talk about the heroes' quirks, he saw strings attached to them. He wondered what would happen if he pulled one of them when he got the chance. As Izuku was walking home, All Might, in his scrawny form, appeared before him. "I'm sorry for what I said. I should have practiced what I preached. I learned that today when I saw you try to rescue the exploding kid. It looked like you weren't even thinking when you did it, it was all instinct, wasn't it? That's what being a hero is all about, being able to risk their lives to save even just one person. You showed me that you can do that and I wanted to share my secret with you. I want you to be my successor. I want to give you my quirk." All Might said to Izuku's shock. "I was right? He was quirkless and got his quirk later in his life? That doesn't make sense. You have to be born with a quirk, everyone knows that. Is that why he has 9 strings and everyone else has 1 string? Do I have a quirk? But my father breathes fire and my mom has weak telekinesis. I should have gotten a different type of quirk related to those 2 quirks. Maybe I'm a mutation? That could explain it." Izuku thought to himself and wondered what his quirk was. "I thought you had to be born with your quirk and it had to be passed down by your family?" Izuku asked All Might. "Out of all the quirks, there is a rare quirk that allows you to pass it on to another. It was bound to happen at some point and it did nearly 100 years ago. It is called One for All. I'll give it to you, but you have to undergo a strict training regimen. Do you accept it?" All Might asked. "I have no reason to refuse." Izuku thought. "I accept," he said to his favorite hero. 2 days after the chance meeting with All Might, Izuku was meeting him at Takabai Municipal Beach Park and was pulling All Might white. He was sitting on a fridge. Izuku realized that accepting the power of One for All wasn't going to be easy. He was already struggling with the fridge and didn't know why he was doing it. "Why am I doing this again?" Izuku asked All Might as he sat still on top of the fridge. "To accept my power, you must first strengthen your body, or your limbs will explode off your body if you use my power." All Might explained to Izuku, who steeled his resolve and continued trying to move the fridge with All Might sitting on top of it. "I already have a training regimen for you to be able to handle my power without losing your limbs by the UA entrance exams next year. You should gain plenty of muscle if you follow my plan." He added and held up a booklet he made for Izuku. 10 hellish months passed and Izuku had finally finished cleaning up Takabai Municipal Beach Park. He had tested his theory that the strings tied to people were their quirks, and when he tried to pull on one, the person would start to feel weakened, so he stopped before he completed taking their quirk. He wondered if this was something he could only do once or a lot. Izuku didn't dare try to do that with All Might or his mother, because both were important to him. One was a free set of quirks and another was his loyal parent. Izuku also didn't try it on Kaken, mostly because he is technically less lethal with his quirk in a fight because of his drive to be a hero. If he were to lose his quirk, he would fight with everything he got, blaming Izuku, even if he had nothing to do with it, which he would have, but that's different. Izuku only planned to take quirks from villains and bad people. In addition to All Might's training regimen, Izuku also practiced meditation, if only because he was guided by his quirk to see what was the deal with All Might having 9 quirks. It must be because the previous holders of One for All had put their quirks inside of it. Izuku thought as he practiced meditation each night. It was finally the day before the UA entrance exam, and Izuku was on top of a pile of garbage he had moved, screaming his lungs out as a scrawny All Might watched on in pride of his successor. It was early in the morning and Izuku had cleaned up the entire beach, even if he was only supposed to clean a part of the beach. You could see his progress in his muscle definition and abs as he was shirtless as he did it. He really did it. He went beyond the assignment. Incredible! All Might said to himself as Izuku came down from the pile he climbed on top of. Not a speck of trach left. Amazing! All Might exclaimed and clapped his hands together and pulled out his phone to show Izuku. What's that? Izuku asked his favorite hero and predecessor. It's you, 10 months ago. Look how scrawny and weak you were back then. All Might said, showing a photo of Izuku crying from the exertion he was going through on the ground. Now look at you, full of muscle and ready to inherit my power. He told the green-haired boy, no, young man. Well done. All Might said as he went to his muscle form and put a hand on Izuku's shoulder. You are now a true blue vessel now. All Might said in his hero voice. I feel like I cheated. Izuku said, mostly to himself, but he knew he shouldn't feel that way. He had a quirk and didn't use it, even if other people's quirks could have helped him with cleaning up the park. He just couldn't shake the feeling that he had cheated because he had a quirk and All Might thought he was just quirkless. Hell, he thought he was quirkless until 10 months ago. Getting all this help from you, All Might. I've been blessed, Izuku started saying, but was cut off from All Might. You're wrong. This was all done by your efforts alone. You honed your body to accept my power. You went above and beyond my training regimen. You cleaned up the whole beach while only being told to clean a part of it. You alone made this happen. You went beyond. Plus ultra. All Might told Izuku, yelling loudly at that last part. You embody what UA stands for, that I should be thanking you for showing me the power in just a mere student could reignite a passion in me that I thought was disappearing. Thank you, young Midoriya. Thank you for everything. He told the green-haired young man as he bowed to Izuku, causing the green-haired young man to cry happy tears. I guess I should say you're welcome, All Might. Izuku said as he wiped away the tears from his eyes and had a huge smile on his face. All Might stood tall for this next part. You know, they say there's a big difference between being born with that silver spoon and working your butt off to earn it. He started his obviously pre-prepared speech for Izuku to give him his quirk. Take this to heart, kid. He put a head to his hair, almost like a salute from where Izuku was standing. You've earned this power, fair and square. He said as he brought his hand down, the light of the morning sun reflecting off of something in his hand. Eat this. He said bluntly as Izuku saw it was a piece of All Might's hair. It doesn't matter what it is you eat, as long as you get my DNA, you'll get my power. He added an explanation. Not exactly how I thought this would go. Izuku said as he took the strand of hair and put it in his mouth and swallowed, almost getting it stuck in his mouth. It should only take a few hours before the quirk fully integrates with your body. The only reason I chose to do it a day before the entrance exam, like you asked. I take it that you've honed your mind as well to cope with my awesome power? All Might asked Izuku, who nodded. I figured it would come down to control of the muscles and my mind on how to portion the quirk's power in my body. You said that if I used too much too soon, my limbs would explode off of my body. But I have been meditating these past 10 months to achieve body and mind synchronization. I don't know how well it will work, but I'm sure that I can use One for All properly once it settles. I imagine it would be like an egg in a microwave. The power would be the heat while my body is the egg. If you add too much heat too soon, the egg will explode. So I meditated to try and preemptively control how much output the quirk will have in my body. Izuku explained his reasoning behind honing his mind and All Might nodded. Good reasoning, but couldn't you have used a better metaphor? Was all Might could ask after hearing Izuku ramble on. I was a little hungry and was craving eggs when I thought of it, and it fit with what I was thinking already, so I kept with it. Izuku said to defend himself and his thought process. Either way, you made it sound like a good explanation of the power in an unsuited vessel. Good job. Let's see if you can put it into action with some meditating here on the beach. All Might said, and Izuku blushed, but sat down on the ground. Okay, there were 9 quirks in this power, but All Might said he was the 8th user and he was quirkless when he got it, so I should expect about 9 people or so in my mind when I delve deep. Izuku thought to himself as he closed his eyes and began to look deep within himself. Immediately he was accosted by 7 people, a golden ghost, and 1 box with chains on it. Izuku looked around and saw that he was inside a palace floor inside an inky black void. Hello, Knife. We didn't expect to see you so soon, or at all. Pleasure to meet you. A scrawny, sickly guy with white hair greeted Izuku kindly. Izuku focused on only speaking inside of his mind, which is where he assumed he was, or at least inside of One for All. Hello. My name is Izuku Midoriya. I thought I saw 9 quirks inside of All Might, but I only see 7 people, 1 golden ghost, and a chained box. I take it the golden ghost is All Might because he is still alive in the real world, and the chained box is the person who gave the first of you the power to accumulate strength. Is that right? Izuku asked, looking at all of the people in awe and apprehension. These are heroes from the past. I can't believe it. Izuku's nerdiness came through in his inner thoughts. You are correct, 9th or Midoriya. The only woman in the group answered. We meant to hide the chained box from you, but as first, or Yoichi, said, you came to us so soon that we haven't had the time. She said to the green-haired young man. I'm Nana Shimura, the 7th user. You can call me 7th, though all of them do. She introduced herself to Izuku, who had a flash of realization in her eyes. I think I know you. My mom used to talk about you as her favorite hero. She wears her hair just like you do even now. Izuku said to Nana Shimura. Good to know my legacy lives on in others. Nana Shimura said with a gentle smile, but sad eyes. Hey, everyone. We said that we would give him access to our quirks when he was able to talk to us, didn't we? A bald man asked the group. Yes, we did. I just didn't expect it to be so soon. A black-haired man said as he walked up to touch Izuku, and a flash of light appeared for just a moment. I am Ntiyutai, the 6th user. I just gave you my quirk, smokescreen. He said as he introduced himself and walked away from Izuku. Thank you. Was the only thing Izuku could say. The bald man then came up to Izuku. I'm Daigoro Banjo, the 5th user. I will give you my quirk, Black Whip. He introduced himself and touched Izuku, and a flash of light appeared for just a moment, just like with Entei. Nana Shimura walked up to Izuku. You already know me as Nana Shimura, the 7th user, and I'm giving you my quirk, Float. She said as she touched Izuku, and another flash of light appeared for just another moment. The orange-haired man just sighed and walked up to Izuku. I am Tashitsugu Kudo, the 2nd user. I am giving you my quirk, Gear Shift, which has evolved since its time inside of One for All. Be warned that it could be the most dangerous of the quirks at your disposal. He warned as he touched Izuku and walked off back to the group. The silver-haired man walked up to Izuku and followed the same format as the others did. I'm Bruce Lee, the 3rd user, and I'm giving you my quirk, Faging. It is a repetitive ability that stores potential energy from the repeated motion and releases it in a huge blast of kinetic energy. It's almost as dangerous as Gear Shift. Be careful. He explained his quirk to Izuku before touching him, causing another flash of light to appear for just another moment. The blonde man with cracks in his face walked up to Izuku and followed the format the others did. I'm Hikage Shinomori, the 4th user, and I'm giving you my quirk, Danger Sense. It will sense any danger that will be directed towards you, but if the person isn't doing it out of hostility, it won't activate. He told Izuku and touched him with another flash of light for just a moment. You already have my 2 quirks, which are One for All and the ability to pass down the power to someone else. So there isn't really a need for me to touch you. I'm Yoichi Shigaraki. I'll tell you more about the person in the box, but I believe we have wasted your time long enough. You should awaken to give Tashinori some comfort and an explanation, as surely this affected your outer body. Yoichi said, but Izuku wanted to know who was in the box. He already suspected it was a villain with the power to give people quirks. How else would Yoichi have 2 quirks instead of 1? But if he was right, he should give an explanation to All Might. Izuku opened his eyes to find himself floating off of the ground by 2 meters. He turned off the float quirk and landed on the ground with a thud. Ow! Izuku said as he got himself back up and found himself in a cloud of smoke. All Might, having heard Izuku hit the ground, went into his muscle form and waved his hand strongly to get rid of the smoke. Izuku consciously turned off all of his quirks, just in case they would happen to activate. What was that, young Midoriya? All Might asked when he turned back into his scrawny form. I theorized that, since One for All was given to people with quirks first, that their quirks would be inside of the power you just gave me. So I looked deep within myself and found the users of the quirk inside of a mental palace. They each gave me their power and it affected me in the real world, I guess. Izuku explained it all to All Might, who coughed up blood when he heard that he was a golden ghost and that there was a chained box in the Menta Palace. I knew about the vestiges mostly because my master, Nana Shimura, told me about them, but to hear that you actually met them is astounding. You truly are remarkable, young Midoriya. I expect great things from you during the entrance exam and better hear that you passed. All Might said in a stern voice, then laughed it off as if it was a joke. Either way, if the other vestiges have locked up the box, you should leave it alone, or at least wait until they have explained it to you first. If your theory is right, then it is the greatest enemy of One for All that there has ever been. All Might told Izuku firmly. Who's that? You make it sound like the person is still around, when they would have died at least a couple years ago. Izuku said, curious about the whole thing. All for One. He is the antithesis of One for All. He was the demon lord of the past and led an entire army of multi-quirked villains that almost ruled the world. He can take and give people quirks at his will. There are some quirks that give enhanced lifespans or even immortality if the conditions are right. I wouldn't be surprised if that BSTRD found one to keep himself alive. He is the one who gave me my worst injuries and made me look like this after 6 years. You will eventually have to fight him, young Midoriya. I hope it isn't until you are a pro hero, though. You can't stand a chance against him without the training from a hero school. All Might explained to Izuku, who had a look of realization in his eyes. Crap, what if my father is All for One? His power, plus my mom's, would equal taking someone's quirk from a distance. He disappeared over 5 years ago though, so maybe it's not him? Who am I kidding? My quirk is the power to steal quirks from people. Of course he's my father. Izuku thought quickly and hid his reactions from All Might, who seemed to be recollecting some battle memory, possibly against All for One. I'll do my best to become stronger, to stop All for One once and for all. Izuku said with steely determination, pulling All Might from his memory. That's what I like to hear. Now, we can't have you slacking right now, so let's start that run now. All Might said and Izuku started running with All Might close behind. That night, after Izuku ate dinner and did his nightly exercises, he meditated once again to head to the mental palace for the explanation on the chained box and All for One. He made it back to the mental palace and was met with Yoichi Shigaraki and the chain box. We heard your thoughts this morning and decided to just let me be here to talk to you about my brother, All for One. Yoichi said. Yoichi then went on to explain how he was a prisoner to his brother and how they adored comic books. How All for One led a revolution through fear and chaos by giving people he could control quirks that didn't suit them. That there would be quirk mishaps constantly because the people weren't born with their quirks and didn't know how to control them. How All for One would kill anyone who displeased him or stood in his way, all except for Yoichi, his sickly younger brother. So, if everyone knows about my quirk and potential connection to All for One, can I try something with the chain box? Izuku asked, wanting to try to use his quirk to the fullest and hopefully get something that will help with using One for All. I think that the connection with All for One can be used to take his quirks from him, wherever he is, and weaken him. Plus, if I can find out which quirks are what, then maybe I can get something that will help with the backlash I'll undoubtedly have from using One for All. Like regeneration, or shock absorption to help with punches and kicks and all that. He gave an explanation of what he wanted to do. Maybe I'll find out if he has the same quirk my father was supposed to have, which was fire breathing, and see if All for One has a chance of being my father. Izuku added to Yoichi, who nodded in understanding. Izuku examined the box and found 100 strings coming out of the back of it. He touched them and felt what each of the powers were. He definitely found hyper-regeneration and shock absorption, as well as fire breathing. Izuku then sifted through the strings to find the right quirks, and after an hour of feeling through the connection, he found the right 2 strings for hyper-regeneration and shock absorption. He was going to leave the other powers alone for now, just to not alarm All for One. Izuku pulled on the 2 strings that had the right quirks, and 2 women who looked terrified, from wherever All for One is to the mental palace Yoichi and Izuku stood. The 2 women looked around to find themselves in a different area than before and saw the 2 men before them. Izuku was smiling at his success and Yoichi waved at the 2 women. "Hello ladies. You have been taken from my brother and his probably torturous mental palace and into our palace. Where my brother's power is used for evil, my power is used for good. The green-haired young man next to me is the 9th holder of my power. He is the one who found out how to bring you here. You must give him access to your quirks, please. The fate of the world rests on him to take down All for One, and he needs to be as strong as he can be for that to work. If nothing happens, All for One will destroy the world and remake it in his own image. We can't have that. Please help us." Yoichi gave a speech to the 2 women, who started to look less scared. "My name is Izuku Midoriya. I don't know if I can move you back to your original bodies, but I'll try if I ever meet them. You have my word. Especially after I defeated All for One." Izuku told the 2 women, who seemed to have calmed down greatly. The woman with bright red hair stood up. "You won't find us alive in the living world. All for One killed us when he stole our quirks. My name is Akari Akane. My quirk is hyper-regeneration. I'll be glad to see that monster be killed finally. How do I pass on my quirk?" The bright red-haired woman, Akari Akane, asked the 2 men. "You just have to touch Izuku and will your power into him," Yoichi explained to the young woman. Akari walked up to Izuku and put her hand on his shoulder and a flash of light appeared for just a moment, just like earlier in the day. The other woman, who was older and had jet black hair that rose to the sky, came forward and introduced herself as Keiko Hikari and her quirk was shock absorption. She gladly gave it to Izuku and he could feel the 2 powers settle into his body, unlike with the other users of One for All. Could this be because they weren't users? Or is it because I practically used my quirk on All for One and this is how it works for him? I don't know, but I have the right power set to use for the entrance exam. Izuku thought to himself as Yoichi was explaining One for All to the 2 women. It almost feels like cheating. Using One for All to ace the UA entrance exam. Especially if I get powers that will specifically help with getting in. Izuku said aloud for the 3 other people to hear. "You are doing this to stop that monster, All for One. You deserve all of the power you can get from him to defeat him." Akari Akane told Izuku as she put her hand in his. "You deserve all of the help to stop him and win. I know that you will use my power responsibly. Or as responsibly as you can with hyper-regeneration, which I'm guessing you chose because you needed a way to save yourself from your excessive strength," she said and kissed his cheek, causing Izuku to blush heavily and wake up from his meditation. Might as well text All Might to say that I've been told about the box and was able to use All for One's power against himself. Izuku said, trying to ignore how he felt about a woman kissing his cheek in his mind. He texted All Might about the whole thing and got a response to be careful with stealing powers, because it could become addicting. Izuku responded that it was a pain to do so and felt weird to have the quirks settle into him. He might not do it so often, but he was going to keep stealing All for One's powers. All Might just said to be careful again and to come up with a reasonable quirk to say how he has gotten all of his powers. Izuku hadn't even thought of that. How would he explain being assumed quirkless for 14 years and suddenly getting seemingly multiple powers? I guess I could call it an energy manipulation type quirk. It could manifest in a variety of ways that seem random, but I could just say that it's because I analyze all heroes, villains, and quirks around me and how they work. But what if one of my classmates asks me to try and replicate their quirk? What do I do then? I can't replicate a quirk all for one doesn't have. Maybe I can say that it isn't always accurate to what I'm portraying and it'll always be different. Yeah, that could work. An energy manipulation quirk that manifests in a variety of ways that can't perfectly copy other quirks. Not easily anyway, but that is only if all for one has a similar quirk to what they ask of me. He probably will. He seems like the kind of guy who hoards all types of quirks, maybe not multiple of the same type, but at least one of each type. Power over skill is probably how he chooses what quirks to keep. Izuku thought as he yawned tiredly. I should get to bed. I have an early day tomorrow. Izuku said to himself and went to sleep as if he had run 1,000 kilometers today. The UA High School Hero Course. The television in Izuku's living room sounded off as it blared what was playing on the TV. It's a course designed to give students everything they need to go pro. The television announcer continued. It is without a doubt the toughest and most popular hero course in the country, and only 1 in 300 applicants is accepted. The television said in excitement. There's All Might, who magnanimously declined the People's Choice Award. The television then started to spout off alumni who went to UA as Izuku ate his breakfast quickly so he could get a good seat in the auditorium at UA High School. I finished my training with All Might. I have packed my bag and am ready to head out the door. Mom has already left for work, so I'll have to lock it. I can't wait to see so many people with new quirks that I can study and watch in action. Izuku thought to himself as he finished eating and headed out of the door, remembering to lock it, and ran down to the train station. He ignored the villain fight that was underway over to the station in favor of watching lots more people use their quirks and try and see if there are any similar ones to the ones from One for All at the entrance exam. After a 40-minute train ride, he was at UA High, the prestigious high school with the premier hero course in all of Japan. It was huge and covered in windows. Surely they get broken often. But I guess it's cheaper to replace windows than it is to replace walls. Now, time to take my seat for the general entrance exam for UA. Izuku thought as he walked inside and almost tripped, but a brown-haired girl saved him from hitting the ground with her quirk, which apparently can make other things float. When he was upright again, she released her quirk. Thank you. I'm Izuku Midoriya. I appreciate the save. Izuku said, blushing at almost having fallen flat on his face. I need better foot-eye coordination. Izuku thought as he was embarrassed of himself for almost falling. Not a problem. I'm glad to help. I'm Ochako Uraraka. Pleased to meet you, Midoriya. The brown-haired girl, Uraraka, beamed a smile at Izuku. Izuku stammered from the blood rushing to his head. Please tita meet y. Uraraka. Thanks again for the save. I'm just going to head on inside to get a seat as close to the doors as I can. I hope to see you in class, that is if you're trying for the hero course. He cleared up his stammering after the first part. Of course I am. I hope to see you in the same class as me as well. I'm still waiting for a friend. I'm going to wait out here a little longer. Uraraka told Izuku, who nodded and walked inside of the UA building. Izuku got a seat in the front row and was handed a placement card that had which site he was supposed to report to for the practical exam. He waited until everyone was inside of the auditorium and spotted Uraraka and Kaken sitting in higher parts of the auditorium. A member of the faculty that Izuku recognized as Present Mike walked out of a door from the back of the stage. He looked out over the crowd of examinees and found that they were all settled. He told them to start the general exam and everyone did. Everyone was finished with the general exam in 2 hours and they passed their tests down to the front row, where Present Mike picked them up. He then went on to explain the rules of the practical exam and how the examinees would be fighting robots, which Izuku thought was a little unfair to those with quirks that could only affect humans or living creatures. Present Mike went on how there were 3 types of robots that gave points and 1 that didn't. He then let all of the examinees go to their testing sites and everyone bolted out of the auditorium. Izuku was the first one out and he was the first one changed into his gym uniform for the practical exam. He was at Site B, which looked like a bustling city from over the wall blocking the examinees from just rushing in. Izuku stayed back a little to let himself have time to look at the other examinees and determine their quirks, There was a kid with blue hair that had engines in his legs, another who had spiky red hair that turned into a stone-like texture, and a short kid that had purple ball on his head. Izuku got the creeps from the ball-headed kid because he made a comment about trying to sneak into the girls' locker room. That was shut down by the boy with the engine legs, though, so he didn't even attempt it. Izuku headed out of the changing room and saw Uraraka and wanted to go say hello to her, but stopped himself because she looked like she was hyping herself up. He decided to try and practice some of his power. He already knew that he would have to put the energy in all of his body, then alter the amount used in one part of the body, like a water balloon or a balloon animal. If he puts too much strain on one part of the balloon, it will pop and destroy the part of the body he was planning to use. He hoped that was how One for All worked, or else he was screwed. Izuku also noticed that there was an emphasis on not attacking the other examinees, which meant they wanted them to rescue each other. That was probably part of the test, and Izuku would work on passing no matter what. Heroes save people, of course it would be on the test. Izuku thought as he planned on ways to use his power to attack the robots and save the people, but only if they needed saving. He shouldn't go crazy. It might seem that he attacked a student. The doors started to open and a buzzer sounded, and the group at Site B was off to defeat robots. Most of them probably don't even know about the rescue points they could get and will only focus on themselves. Izuku ran in as he activated One for All and put the energy through his whole body and dialed it down to maybe 5%. He immediately noticed the difference in his strength and speed as he jumped through a 3-point robot, getting small cuts on his body that were immediately healed with hyper-regeneration. Izuku saw the ball-haired kid almost get stepped on by a 3-pointer, and Izuku used Black Whip to grab the boy and move him out of the way as he took down the robot. He followed this pattern, taking robots down on his own, saving others from being hurt from the robots, and destroying the robots that tried to hurt the examinees. Izuku calculated, and he had 75 points just from destroying robots. He didn't know how they were grading the rescues, so he couldn't calculate his rescue points. There were only 5 minutes left, and Izuku destroyed 5 more 3-pointers, while saving the kid with engines in his legs and a boy that shot a laser from his stomach. Izuku wanted to let the robot hurt the stomach laser kid. Something was off about him and set off danger sense for some reason, but he didn't listen to it and instead saved him. When it came down to the 1-minute mark, the giant 0-point robot came out and wreaked havoc on the false town. Everyone was running away from it, and Izuku was going to do the same, but he heard a yell for help and saw that Uraraka was trapped under some rubble. Izuku ran over and jumped, not thinking about what exactly he was doing or why he wasn't just saving Uraraka, but he jumped to look the giant robot in the eye and then threw a strong punch with everything he had in him, breaking his arm in the process, but it healed up as he fell to the ground. He activated float and sailed slowly down, and when he landed, did he finally get Uraraka out of the rubble. "Thanks for the save," Uraraka said with a smile on her face. "I guess you paid me back for me saving you from falling. Though, if you could slow your descent, why didn't you do it when you tripped earlier?" She asked Izuku. "I didn't think of it in time, and you immediately used your quirk on me, so I didn't need to. How's your leg? Can you walk?" Izuku asked Uraraka as he helped her up, and the buzzer rang, indicating the end of the practical exam. "It's fine. I'm sure I can walk. It didn't hurt under the rubble, I just got stuck," Uraraka told Izuku as a short old lady appeared next to them. "I'll be the judge of that. You shouldn't move someone if you think they are injured, no matter what." The short old lady that Izuku recognized as Recovery Girl said to Izuku, "Right, it could aggravate the injury or move it to cause another injury that could lead to killing the person. I guess that docked me some points then." Izuku asked, only getting a chuckle from the old lady. "Why would moving someone out of some rubble get some points docked?" Uraraka asked, confused. "Because heroes save people. I believe one of the criteria of this exam is saving other examinees. That was why I didn't just focus on taking down robots myself, and I helped save some of the other examinees when they needed it, but there could have been other criteria, like with the 0-pointer. It was giant and probably had different rules tied to it." Izuku explained to the brown-haired girl, who got a look of dawning realization. "I don't think I have seen anyone figure that out before the exam started. You went into the exam already saving people. I commend you. What is your name?" Recovery Girl asked while checking on Uraraka's leg and then kissing it, using her quirk in the process. Izuku Midoriya, ma'am. Pleased to meet you. While I don't have anything against you, I hope we don't see each other too frequently. No offense. Izuku said with a little nervous chuckle, earning a giggle from Uraraka. None taken. I want to see students be healthy and unbroken. If you were to see me, you would need to be sick or broken, and that's not good. Recovery Girl said before moving along, and Uraraka walked to the exit along with Izuku. How many robot points did you accomplish? Uraraka asked Izuku as they walked to the exit, passing Recovery Girl as she worked on another student. 84, I think. But that is only the robot points. I probably got more in rescue points depending on how they count them. Izuku said as they made it to the exit and they separated to the different changing rooms with a goodbye. A week passed and there was no word from UA or All Might. Izuku was starting to get worried. He still took to the training regimen the All Might gave him and continued to examine all of the powers of All for One, taking a couple for himself, like air propulsion and negation field. From what he got out of their original users, air propulsion allowed the wielder to blow high streams of air from any part of their body, and negation field worked to negate any and all quirks in a 100-kilometer radius. Sometimes it could even remove someone's features temporarily, as he tested it in a crowded area and saw the changes in the people around him. He could also make a buffer area that could allow the use of quirks for friends or cooperating with other heroes. He registered his quirk as an energy manipulator that can manifest other powers after an analysis. Hopefully someone doesn't look too closely at that and see that it is a lie. Izuku was now eating fish with his mother and was out of sorts from the anticipation of waiting for a reply from either UA or All Might. Izuku, are you alright? Why are you smiling at the fish? Izuku's mother, Inko Midoriya, asked the green-haired young man. Sorry, I'm fine. Izuku stammered out and continued eating his dinner without another issue. Izuku was working on his nightly exercises, and that was when his mother came into his room with a packet in her hands. It's here. The UA entrance exam results. Have a look. Tell me what they say. Inko Midoriya said. Anxiety skyrocketed for her son as she paced in front of his closed bedroom door. Izuku opened the packet and found a projection disc inside. When it turned on, All Might's face was on the holo display. After the shock of hearing that All Might was going to be his teacher at UA, he listened and was told that he got the highest score on the practical, 85 points from the robots and 100 points for the rescues. All Might gave standard praise you would hear from a teacher and not a direct mentor. All Might said that Izuku had qualified for being in Class 1A this year. Izuku was so excited he yelled that he got in, and his mother came into his room and hugged him with tears of joy on her face. Izuku didn't tell his mother about All Might or about the quirk he seemed to have before he got One for All, but he had told her about his energy manipulation quirk and how it came to be after analyzing some heroes one day and sprouting Black Whip. He then told her how he went to train his power by analyzing other heroes and manifesting other powers that weren't exactly like the heroes he analyzed, but he got them, and would probably be getting more the more heroes and quirks he analyzed. At UA, a group of teachers were examining the future hero course students. The practical scores are out. One teacher started talking. In first place with 85 villain points and 100 rescue points is Izuku Midoriya. I don't know how he accomplished it though. From his application he said he was quirkless, so unless he discovered a really powerful quirk just before the exam, he shouldn't have destroyed or rescued as many people as he did. The teacher said, confused by the top ranker in the entrance exam. I looked into him. He recently updated his quirk description to that of an energy manipulation quirk that can manifest other powers after complete analysis, though with some differences. If you paid close attention to when he took down the zero-pointer, he broke his legs and arm completely, but they healed almost instantaneously as he either rose from the ground or floated back down. It's like he only had the strength aspect of his quirk for a day and couldn't use it at its full power without some injury, so he analyzed someone with regeneration abilities to compensate for it. A short man or large rat said as he put up the video of Izuku taking down the zero-pointer. Plus he knew from the beginning of the test, as he told Recovery Girl, that we would be calculating rescue points. No other student has realized this before the results have gone out and we reveal it to them. He is truly observant and he probably would have gotten more villain points if he wasn't paying attention to the other examinees and their quirks. I dare say that whoever has him will have their hands full trying to compensate for his ever-growing set of powers. The large rat teacher chuckled as he looked at what looked to be a homeless man in the room, who sighed heavily at the implication. He's already assigned to my class, isn't he? The homeless-looking man asked the large rat teacher. Yes, only the best for the best. He was able to both take down villains and save others with his reaction time. Though he seemed to hesitate twice, once with the examinee Minoru Mineta, who unfortunately failed the practical, and Yuga Aoyama, who fortunately did pass. There were two different reactions from Izuku regarding these two. For Minoru Mineta, it was discussed, probably from an earlier interaction, but he quickly got over that to save him from a three-pointer. With Yuga Aoyama on the other hand, Izuku Midoriya almost looked scared of the boy, like a sense of danger was going off in his head when he saw the boy in trouble. Want you to keep an eye on Yuga Aoyama. If he has a reason to make someone as powerful and versatile as Izuku Midoriya scared, for even a moment, then something is up. I want you to investigate as he will be in your class as well, Shoyudezawa. I want to keep them both in class, so please make your expulsion a ruse this year to motivate the students. The large rat teacher told the homeless man, Shoyudezawa, who sighed dramatically. I make no promises. If one of my students doesn't reach my ideal of being a hero, then they're out of my class. I'll look into Yuga Aoyama for you, but I'm also looking into Izuku Midoriya as well. Something is fishy with him, but I don't know why. His quirk is just too convenient to be true. You should know that, Nizu. Aizawa told the large rat teacher, Nizu, who nodded. I'm well aware, that is why I am looking into him. You don't have to worry about Izuku Midoriya any more than as a student in your class. Nizu told Aizawa, who looked a little put out by the whole thing, but nodded. Now, that's enough about Izuku Midoriya. There's 39 more Hero Corps students to get through tonight and I'm sure all of you would like to go home at some point. Nizu laughed as the other teachers agreed with him. Then let's talk about Kaken Bakugu, who had the second highest villain points, but no rescue points. When it reached the second half, and the other examinees were beginning to tire, he kept on going with more energy than he had before the exam began. A stone-headed teacher started talking and they discussed Kaken and his violent tendencies before going on to the other students one by one. The Hero Course classes were filled with 40 people, with 20 in each class. In Class 1A there was Yuga Aoyama, Mina Ishido, Tsu Azui, Tenya Ida, Ochako Uraraka, Mashareo Ojiro, Denki Kaminari, Ijiro Kirishima, Koji Koda, Rikido Sato, Mizo Shoji, Kyoka Jiro, Hanta Siro, Fumikage Tokoyami, Shoto Todoroki, Toru Hagakure, Katsuki Bakugu, Izuku Midoriya, Hitoshi Shinso, and Momo Yaoyorozu. In Class 1B there was Yosetsu Owaze, Sen Kaibara, Taguru Kamakiri, Shirhai Kuwaro, Itsuka Kendo, Yui Kodai, Kinoko Komori, Ibara Shizaki, Juroda Shishida, Nairenjiki Shoda, Pony Tsunatori, Kozai Tsubaraba, Tetsu, Setsuna Tokage Manga Fukudashi, Juzo Hananuki, Kojiro Bando, Nito Monoma, Reiko Yanagi, and Hiryu Rin. The conversion about all of the students went on all night and the teachers could only sleep for 2 hours before they had to come back in for classes the next day, but they all were used to this, so they were all well rested, except for Aizawa, who was perpetually tired. As the discussion was going on, Izuku got a message from All Might to meet him at Takabai Municipal Beach Park and that they had something to talk about. Izuku gave his mother the excuse of going on a long run to wear off his excitement so he could go to bed as he ran to where All Might said to meet him, seeing his scrawny form standing there. Izuku also noticed some civilians were nearby, so they had to be careful to not speak so loudly. All Might, why didn't you say anything to me about going to work at UA High? You told me almost everything else to do about you. Izuku said the first thing when he got close enough to All Might to say anything that wouldn't attract the attention of the people checking out the beach. There should be some surprises when it comes to student and mentor relationships. I wanted it to be a surprise for you, since I'll be teaching your class. All Might explained to the green-haired young man. Awesome. But does anybody at the school know about your small might form, or about one for all? Just so I know who to not expressly lie to when it comes to your business. Izuku questioned the legitimacy of All Might's huge secret-keeping policy and assumed that there were some people who already knew from when he first got the power. All of the teachers know about my weakened form that you so graciously called my small might form. But only the principal, Nizu, and recovery girl know about one for all in the school. There are a few others, like my former sidekick Night Eye, my old master, Gran Torino, and a police detective named Naomasa Tsukachi. Of course there's All for One and probably his closest confidant, though I don't know who that would be. All Might explained it all to Izuku, who nodded in understanding. You need to keep one for all a secret as well as you can. If even one wrong person were to know it exists, All for One would target you immediately, that or the Hero Commission would lock you up and experiment on you to give their specific heroes multiple powers. He added with a grave tone and coughing up some blood that Izuku still couldn't get used to, even after 10 months of it. I promise to try and keep this power you gave me a secret as best I can. But that seriously hampers my choices for internships, doesn't it? Izuku said the first part seriously, but the second part as a joke. You don't have to use either Sir Night Eye or Gran Torino to better your use in One for All. From my understanding of it, you have better control over it than even I did when I was starting out, though I did notice that you broke your bones when you jumped to meet the Zero-Pointer's eye and then proceeded to punch it with all of your strength. I also noticed that your bones healed by the time you floated down to the ground to rescue that Uraraka girl. Why did you not just rescue her from the rubble she was stuck in first before taking down the giant robot? All Might asked. It was instinct. I guess the giant robot would still be moving as I got the rubble off of her and moved her to a further location. I jumped up to get level with the giant robot and took it down with a single punch, like I knew you would. It would probably help my case since I changed my quirk to an energy manipulation quirk that can manifest other abilities after analyzing a hero or quirk. I also got 2 new quirks while I was waiting for the results of the test. One is Negation Field, which nullifies any and all quirks in a 100-kilometer radius, as well as adds a buffer area inside of the field for people to use their power. The second one is Air Propulsion, which allows the wielder to blow high-speed air from any part of their body. I could use it with float and fly through the air like I just have regular flight powers. I'm glad I specified that the powers don't always match the quirks, because I can say I analyzed Eraserhead's and Gran Torino's quirks and that they grew bigger than I thought they would. I am worried about the Negation Field quirk though. Izuku explained in an excited and hushed ramble, only stopping when All Might put a hand on his shoulder. Why are you worried about the Negation Field quirk? All Might asked Izuku seriously. Because it can take away a heteromorphous quirk and remove any type of mutations a person has that are either connected to their quirks or not connected to their quirks. I tested it in a crowded area while there was a villain attack and saw the changes myself. I didn't let it last for long, though. Only for a few seconds, and I learned I can control the distance the field has so it can be smaller than 100 kilometers. Izuku told All Might, who nodded in understanding. Tell him about your belief that you are All for One's son. Daigoro Banjo's voice came through in Izuku's mind, almost getting a visible reaction out of him. Do you think he'll still trust me if I do? Izuku asked in his mind, hoping it would reach the vestiges. I do. You should tell someone. Maybe Nizu would be better. He will probably be keeping a close eye on you if he notices the extra powers as not normal and if Toshinori kept him in the loop about you. Nana Shimura's voice fluttered through Izuku's mind just then. He will probably think that if you have all of our quirks, you'll have All for One's quirk. It's best you tell either of them as soon as possible to avoid any miscommunications. Nana Shimura explained to Izuku in his mind. What has you so quiet? All Might asked, and Izuku needed a moment to not just speak in his mind again. I'm talking to the other vestiges. They want me to tell you about my possible father. Do you want to hear that, or do you want to wait until another time? Also, have you been keeping Nizu informed about me as your successor? Izuku asked, and All Might nodded. It's better if he hears it sooner rather than later and assumes the worst possible outcome. Tell me about your father. If the vestiges want me to know, then it's best to get it out of the way. All Might said, and both he and Izuku sat down on the ground as Izuku went on to explain how his father looked from his memory, which already had some wheels turning in All Might's head. Izuku also told All Might about the quirk he and his mother believed his father had, because he could use it. Then there was the quirk activation at school the day they first met 10 months ago, before All Might even thought about giving his quirk to Izuku. How he could potentially take away someone else's quirk from a distance. Izuku told All Might that he didn't take anybody's quirks because they were just regular people. Izuku told All Might about his vow to only take powers from the villains or bad people. Izuku even told All Might that the taking of All for One's quirks felt different than the activation of the One for All's quirks and how it felt weird and a little painful, which he already told All Might before when he first got hyperregeneration and shock absorption. All Might listened without once interrupting Izuku, which he thought was a good sign. But Izuku was still getting worried because after he was done, All Might still hadn't said anything. Don't worry, Izuku. He is just processing the amount of information you just dumped on him. He'll be okay with you. The part of him that's in the mental palace is calm and reflects the outer Toshinori quite well. Be calm and wait until he has processed everything. Yoichi's voice went through Izuku's mind and Izuku started to try and calm down. Do you still hold an emotional attachment to him? To your father? All Might finally asked, anger oozing into his voice, and Izuku was scared that he would ask to take back One for All. No. He left me and Mom over 10 years ago, even before I was diagnosed quirkless because of an extra bone in my feet. Could I still have the extra bone because he was one of the first people with a quirk and the evolutionary trait hadn't been unlocked yet from his line, since I might be his direct son, and not a grandson or great-grandson? Izuku asked as All Might took some calming breaths. Possibly. You might know more about that than me. I didn't have the extra bones in my feet, so I don't know. All I know is that having the evolutionary trait isn't certain that you'll have a quirk. All Might said in a sigh as he let out all of his stress through his breath. Do you want me to tell Niza myself, or do you want to tell him yourself? He is a large rat-dog-bear creature with sapience even above a standard high-intelligence quirked human, and it is always on for him. He probably saw that you used multiple quirks and is already assuming the worst. All Might explained in a calmer tone than Izuku thought he would have so soon after being angry. I'd rather you tell him. If he wants to meet with me after, I'm fine with meeting him. I just hope he doesn't expel me from the school already. I just got accepted. Izuku said sadly. If Nizu thought you would be a threat, he would want you close and monitored. You'll have no problem staying in the school. My only problem is your homeroom teacher, Shoyuta Aizawa, or as you probably know him, Eraserhead. He has expelled his whole class in 2 years. He could expel you if he thought you didn't fit his mold of what a hero should be. All Might said, a little worried. I don't think I have to worry about that. I have been practicing my control of One for All and can use 10% without it hurting my body. I only used 5% for all of the practical exam except for the final part with the 0-pointer. What can you tell me about the first day of class with Eraserhead? Izuku asked All Might. He'll probably have you and your class skip out on orientation and do physical quirk evaluation tests to determine where you excel and where you fall short. That will be when he expels someone from the school. Especially if they have the lowest score. Also, good job on regulating the power. How did you know how to do that? All Might asked. You said to get a better metaphor, and after some thinking, I imagine myself as a balloon animal and that if I put too much pressure on one part of my body, it would pop, so I spread the energy through my entire body and then dialed it down to 5% from there. It was quite simple when I thought of it like that. Izuku told All Might. Impressive. And it is a better metaphor than you being an egg. You should probably head home now. Don't want to worry about your mother now. How did she take you to getting a quirk so late? All Might asked Izuku. Better than I thought. She didn't even question me too much after I said it was about me analyzing other heroes and quirks. Do you think I obsess over that due to my original quirk? Izuku asked. Probably. It possibly had to do with how you would use their quirks if given the chance. We'll test that power in secret on weekends to see if you can transfer quirks from yourself to other people, mainly me. I don't expect One for All, but maybe the hyper-regeneration quirk to heal myself. I'll bring it up with Nizu. Night, young Midoriya. All Might said as they both got up from the ground. Night, All Might. Izuku said as he yawned and ran back to his apartment. Izuku was standing in front of the UA High building, looking at it awe and trepidation. He just knew that it was going to be a tough day with a possible meeting with Principal Nizu at one point. Hopefully it is after classes end. I don't want to fall behind the others in my studies at all. Izuku thought as he stepped his way into the building. All you can do is hope for the best. Yuichi's voice sounded in Izuku's mind. Yeah, Toshinori is right. Nizu will want to keep you close to make sure that you follow the path of the hero. He might not trust you at first, but eventually I'm sure he will. You're a good kid. Nana Shimura's voice sounded in Izuku's mind next. Just keep your temper in check and don't steal another student's quirk just because they seem bad. Daigoro Banjo's voice sounded next in Izuku's mind. Izuku did his best to ignore the voices as he looked for his classroom. He found it relatively easy and went to open the door. Inside he found Kaken being scolded by the kid with engines in his legs about having his feet up on a desk. Kaken just told Engine Legs to shut up and find someone else to bother. That was when Engine Legs saw Izuku and bolted right over to him. I remember you. You were the kid saving people from robots so they wouldn't be hurt. You knew that the practical exam had other qualifications and followed accordingly. I commend you for that and wished I had known about it as well. Were you told about it beforehand by chance? Engine Legs asked Izuku. Hello. I'm Izuku Midoriya. Izuku greeted Engine Legs, passive-aggressively. I wasn't told that there would be rescue points. I just thought that since heroes are supposed to rescue people, they would be looking for those qualities as well as fighting the foe villains. What's your name? He asked. Forgive my rudeness. My name is Tenya Ida. I didn't think that they would be looking for other qualities during the exam. You're quite observant. Ida told Izuku. I kinda have to be with my quirk and all. My quirk is one where, when I analyze some hero or another's quirk, I can get some semblance of the quirk as well. I only discovered it a few months ago when I focused my hero analyzations on myself and trained it as best as I could and found several abilities that I used during the practical. What's your quirk? Izuku asked, just to stop himself from rambling. My quirk is Engine Legs. I can increase my speed to a greater extent by using the engines in my legs and even came up with an ultimate move already with them. Ida said smugly before realizing what Izuku had said about his own quirk. Did you say you only had access to your quirk for a few months? He asked Izuku. More like 10, but yeah. I first emulated an old hero that could sprout energy whips from his hands and turned it into a power I call Black Whip. I then emulated All Might for his super strength and got that. But it doesn't always come out the same as the hero or person I'm analyzing. I tried to copy Eraserhead's quirk, but I got a negation field that eliminates any and all quirks in a maximum of 100 kilometers and can even remove someone's mutations. I don't know how I feel about that power, because a heteromorph's body is their life. They have only known that body and removing what makes it special is a bad thing in my books. I haven't trained that power as much, because I wanted to keep my quirk a secret for a little bit and all of the powers that can come from it, but there's no reason now that I'm in UA. I'm rambling now. Sorry. Izuku told Ida as he realized he was rambling his words now. Not a problem. It sounded like you had to get it off your chest. I don't think it's a bad thing to remove someone's quirk, no matter if they are a mutation type or a heteromorph. Using that power could save lives. Ida told Izuku gently. But it could also end lives if the situation is wrong. Like if a hero with a healing quirk can't do their job or a civilian's quirk is the only reason they're still alive. It's just as dangerous as it is useful. Izuku countered and Ida tried, but failed to argue against that. You just need to use your observation skills to watch your surroundings and make sure the bad things don't happen. Uraraka said from behind Izuku, who happened to be blocking the door. Sorry, Uraraka. I didn't realize I was still blocking the door. Izuku said as he moved to the side of the door to let her in. You're right. That's the only way that the negation field will be useful. He added with a smile to Uraraka, who smiled back, causing Izuku to blush heavily. That's good you think so. Uraraka said to Izuku. I hope orientation is fun. What do you think we're going to be doing today? She asked excitedly. Probably quirk evaluation tests, probably some physical tests along with them for our teacher to get a feeling of where each of us are in terms of heroic development. Izuku told Uraraka and Ida, who both nodded. That sounds like a logical use of our time. We don't have time for silly games or trust exercises when we could be working to reach our goals of becoming heroes. Ida told the two others as more and more kids came into the room. One had a blackbird head. Another had a pink body and pink hair. We should get into our seats. Izuku said. I heard our teacher is really strict about behavior in class and that he could expel you if you do just one thing wrong. He told the others, who nodded and went to their assigned seats. After that it was just wading through the chaos of first day jitters of 20 students while also waiting for the teacher to come into the room, which wasn't long as Izuku saw a man laying on the floor in front of the door in a sleeping bag. Izuku was going to say something to everyone in class, but the teacher beat him to it. I am your teacher. Aizawa. Get to the changing rooms and get into your gym gear. I want you all outside with me in half an hour. Aizawa told the class, and Izuku, Uraraka, and Ida were the first to get up and head out of the door, being careful not to step on Aizawa. Half an hour had passed and everyone was in their gym uniforms and were following Aizawa out to what looked like a ball-throwing field. Izuku was curious what the quirk evaluation tests would look like. All Might had said that they were physical, so maybe it's like those tests we would do in elementary and middle school? We weren't allowed to use our quirks in those tests, so maybe we're allowed to use our quirks in these tests. Izuku thought as Aizawa was gearing up for an explanation. Today we're doing quirk evaluation tests. These will be like the physical tests you went through in elementary and middle school, but you get to use your quirks. Aizawa told the class, who exploded into cries of indignation. What about orientation? An invisible girl, according to her voice and clothes, asked. UA is known for its freestyle educational system. Aizawa told the invisible girl. That applies to us teachers as well. He added to the class's stunned silence. You were right, Midoriya. Uraraka told Izuku in a whisper. You will be doing softball throwing, the standing long jump, the 50-meter dash, endurance running, grip strength, side-to-side steps, upper body training, and the seated toe touch. You have done these in middle school, but weren't allowed to use your quirks for some godforsaken reason the School Board of Education thinks is a good idea. Just think that they need to update their curriculum. Aizawa said after he listed off what the class will be doing. At least I know that I won't be the lowest scoring person. I should only limit myself to 10% to prevent strain on my arms and legs. Float and air propulsion will also be good with some of today's activities. Can't wait to test that out. Izuku thought to himself as the other students groaned about not having fun at orientation. Midoriya. Aizawa got Midoriya out of his thoughts. How far could you throw a ball in middle school? The teacher asked the green-haired young man. 30 meters. That was before I started training these past few months and when I finally figured out what my quirk was. Izuku answered the teacher and didn't have to lie much. I'll talk about what you just said later, but right now, stand in the circle and throw this ball. Aizawa said as he tossed a ball to Izuku as he was walking to the circle on the field. Do whatever you want, but don't leave the circle. The teacher told the green-haired young man. How many powers am I allowed to use? My quirk allows me to analyze others and apply what I've learned about them to myself with varying rates of success. I tried to copy your eraser quirk, but I got a powerful quirk negation field instead. Izuku rambled slightly, but stopped himself just before he made it too far into it. As I said, you can do whatever you want. Just don't leave the circle. Aizawa repeated. Alright, here goes. Izuku said, mostly to himself as he connected a black whip to the ball and lowered it towards the ground. He then spun the black whip around at his side and added FA gene to it, changing the look of the black whip into a chain formation. Izuku then released it like a sling and released all of the FA gene energy from the black chain and pushed air out of his hand with air propulsion and top gear. When the ball landed, it was at 906.5 meters away from the circle. Izuku was pleased and even got some cheers from Uraraka and Ida. He also got some rage directed at him from Kaken. I have a feeling that you would have had it go farther if you used the strength you used to take down the zero-pointer. Uraraka told Izuku as he joined back up with the class. Aizawa apparently overheard. He'll have another chance to go again when the whole class gets to that part of the tests. It will be the 5th thing we do though, so don't hold your breath. He told the class. It's important to know your limits. That's the first rational step to figuring out what kind of heroes you'll be. Aizawa added to the class's understanding. Kaken was steaming and really wanted to attack Izuku for lying about not having a quirk all these years, but he even overheard him talking to Ida about only discovering it 10 months ago. He just stayed quiet in his rage as he went through the tests. I'll beat your score, Deku, no matter what it is. Kaken yelled at the green-haired young man. I'd like to see you try, Kaken. It might prove to be good data for me to use. Izuku told Kaken as he pulled out a journal labeled, My Quirk Discoveries, and wrote that he could combine quirks and theorized that maybe he could duplicate quirks. He wrote this in code and put away the notebook. His words only seemed to anger Kaken more, and he put that anger to use in the tests. So we get to use our quirks? A pink-skinned girl asked. That's so awesome. A kid with tape dispensers for elbows exclaimed. Awesome, you say? Aizawa asked, and Izuku flinched at the tone, knowing what was coming next wasn't going to be pleasantries. You're hoping to become heroes after 3 years here and all you think it will be fun and games? He asked threateningly. Right. The one with the lowest score across all 8 events will be judged hopeless and will be expelled. He told the class, getting shouts of displeasure. Surely you as a teacher don't have that kind of power? Ida asked Aizawa. I, in fact, do have that power. It was part of the deal I made with the principal to get me to teach here. I have expelled my last 2 classes altogether. Be glad I'm only doing the lowest scorer instead of all of you. Aizawa told Ida, who looked scandalized. Your fates are in my hands. Welcome, this is the hero course at UA High. The teacher added with a menacing glare, and Izuku felt his quirks turn off for a second. Izuku was starting to get scared now. Some part of him still does not realize that he has multiple quirks now. He wanted to pass more than anything. He has dreamed of being a hero for as long as he was alive and could think. He wants to be like All Might and save people with a smile. Izuku didn't think he was at that point, but he was prepared to try his best. The lowest scorer will be expelled? Uraraka asked, upset. It's only the first day, isn't that a bit excessive? It's totally unfair. She said to the teacher, who was putting in some eye drops. Aizawa looked like he was about to give a speech. Izuku took that time to calm himself and psych himself up for the 8 tests. Natural disasters, highway pileups, rampaging villains, calamity is always around the corner. I'd say Japan is full of unfair things. Aizawa started, looking at each of the students in turn. Heroes are the ones who correct that unfairness. If you were hoping to spend your evenings hanging out at McDonald's, I'm sorry to tell you that, for the next 3 years UA will put you through the ringer. He continued. That's plus ultra. Use your strength to overcome it all. So bring it. Aizawa finished and had everyone start with the 50-meter dash. First it was Ida and a frog girl named Azui. Ida won the race between them by using the engines in his legs. Second was Uraraka and a boy with a tail that was named Ojiro. Ojiro won the race by propelling himself with his tail from the ground. Third was the pink-skinned girl named Ashido and the kid that kept setting off Izuku's danger sense. His name was Aoyama. Aoyama won that race by using his stomach laser as a propulsion system, but he got a stomach ache after doing so. Izuku watched as more and more of his classmates did the dash, learning their names and writing down their quirks and how they used them to do the dash. Finally, it was Izuku against Kaken. Izuku powered up to 10% and repeatedly folded one leg to store energy with FA gene. When the shot sounded, Izuku shot off with FA gene, float, and air propulsion at the exact same moment as Kaken, making it past the camera just a millisecond before Kaken, who used his explosions to propel himself forward in a burst of speed. I'll kill you! Kaken yelled at Izuku and lunged at him, but danger sense caught him and moved Izuku out of the way just in time to dodge Kaken's attack. Kaken was then grabbed by a scarf and restrained. That won't happen. Midoriya won because he was capable of using his quirk to his advantage. Besides, it was only a millisecond. Aizawa told Kaken, who just growled at Izuku, who kept feeling danger sense go off around Kaken. I'm going to let you go now, but if you try to attack another student today, you'll be expelled along with the lowest scoring person today. Aizawa warned and released Kaken, who huffed and walked away from Izuku. Izuku let out a breath of relief at Kaken just walking away. He was sure the angry Pomeranian would do something, regardless of any punishment given to him. But it seems that Kaken wanted to be a hero more than he wanted to hurt Izuku. Izuku went back to his classmates and stood next to Uraraka and Ida, who looked at him both curiously and worryingly. What was that about? You seemed to be resigned in what was happening, you didn't even try to protect yourself, you just jerked to the side. Uraraka said, worry tinging her voice. It was truly despicable what Bakugo has attempted to do just for a measly millisecond. What has he done to you before? Maybe you should report him to some authority. Ida told Izuku his strict way of speaking, breaking away with stress and worrying for a new friend. That's just how Kaken always acts with me. Ever since we were little and we thought I didn't have a quirk. I am just used to his bullying by now that I don't even do anything. Plus, now that I have a rather strong quirk that will just keep evolving, he doesn't matter to me now. I don't care about what he's done to me in the past anymore, or what he'll try to do to me in the future. He is nothing to me anymore. No longer my former friend, no longer something to be feared, nothing. Don't worry about that angry Pomeranian, he won't do much now that he is in the hero course. As you just saw, with a little threat of expulsion, he backed off immediately. That never would have happened in our crappy middle school. Izuku rambled an explanation to his two new friends and it looked like others were listening in. You are so manly in your way of thinking, Midori bro. It's also unmanly to bully someone just because they are perceived as weaker than you. Bakugo was wrong to do what he did to you. You should definitely report him to some authority if he tries something like that again. The spiky red-haired boy named Kirishima told Izuku, who nodded. You're right. I will if he does try to do something. I don't think he will though. He can hear us right now, plus his want to be a hero is greater than his want to hurt me, I'm sure. Izuku told Kirishima, who smiled and said that what Izuku said was so manly. The second event was grip strength and Izuku made it by getting 1,140 kilograms of grip strength with only 10% of one for all. The only person who came even halfway close was a giant person with a black mouth mask and multiple beefy arms named Shoji. Next was the standing long jump, in which Izuku used both float and air propulsion to clear the entire sand pit in one jump. Only Uraraka could do the same as Izuku with her zero-gravity quirk. Then it was off to the side-to-side steps and Izuku used regular one for all and float to quickly step side to side and was only in second place for that because Ida used his engines to move to either side with impressive efficiency. Next was the ball throwing, which Izuku was going last because he already went for the demonstration of the event. Everyone except Uraraka got between 70 and 700 meters with their throws. Not even Kaken, who let out his biggest explosion he could muster, could beat Izuku's first score. Uraraka got infinity because the ball kept going up because she used her quirk on it. Finally it was Izuku's turn again and he decided to take Uraraka's advice and use 100% of one for all on the ball to see how far it would go. He turned on hyper-regeneration and shock absorption to the max that one for all gave them and threw the ball. It landed 1,325.7 meters away from the circle. Izuku's arm wasn't even broken this time because of shock absorption, which surprised Izuku. Could it be the combination of both hyper-regeneration and shock absorption? Like with Black Whip and FA Gene to make Black Chain? That would be awesome. He thought to himself as he went back to the group. Kaken just yelled at Izuku for doing better than him, but Izuku just ignored him. Izuku got an average score on his seated toe touch, a decent score at the endurance run, and an impressive score on the upper body training with one for all. After all of the tests were done, Aizawa got to the front of the class and spoke up. About lying about sending someone home just before he showed the results. The lowest scoring person was Aoyama, who still set off Izuku's danger sense whenever he focused on the blonde boy. Does Principal Nizu think Aoyama needs to be watched too? Could that be why danger sense always acts up around the boy? He is up to something and even the principal is guessing at it. What is Aoyama here to do? Izuku thought as everyone breathed a sigh of relief, especially Aoyama, who said something in French that Izuku didn't know. Izuku noticed that All Might was watching from behind a corner of the building like a stalker and wondered what he was doing here. Midoriya. The principal wanted to see you after I was done with the quirk evaluation tests. Something about wanting to talk about your quirk. Go and see him. Here's a note in case anyone tries to stop you. Aizawa told Izuku as he handed the green-haired young man a note and pushed him to the building. Izuku walked around the building and found All Might standing there, acting nonchalant. Hello, young Midoriya. I saw that you were in the top half of your class when it came to the quirk evaluation tests. I came by to watch a class in action to get a feel of what I should do. All Might explained, nervous at being found. Izuku guessed. Is part of the actual reason you're here is to guide me to Principal Nizu's office? I don't know where it is and you're the one who told him about my quirk. Izuku said and All Might sighed. Yes. Principal Nizu wanted you to have a familiar face as you walked into a scary situation for you. He knows that it must be terrifying to find out that you might be expelled because your father is the world's greatest villain. Come on. I'll lead you to his office. It isn't actually that hard to find. There are signs everywhere leading to him. All Might explained and led Izuku to the principal's office. The principal was right. It is nice to have someone connected to the whole thing be with me when I talk about it again. Plus I learned some things that are part of my quirk. I learned to combine powers into new powers. Like with Black Whip and FA Gene turned into Black Chain and Hyper-Regeneration and Shock Absorption let me use my strength enhancement at full power without breaking any bones. It was awesome. There was also another theory that I wanted to run by you and Principal Nizu about duplicating quirks of other people. Izuku whispered that last sentence to keep anyone from hearing. That is an interesting development with your quirk, young Midoriya. I can't wait until you grow into all your new powers and all the more powers you'll get later. All Might said, seeming to be ignoring the whispered part of what Izuku said as he led the green-haired young man to the principal's office. All Might walked Izuku up to the door of Principal Nizu's office, which did have a lot of signs leading the way. He must want to be approachable to have that many signs. Yoichi's voice sounded in Izuku's mind. Not really. He just thinks humans are stupid and get lost easily. He put up the signs so they don't get lost on their way to him. Nana's voice sounded in response to Yoichi. What I'd like to know is if Izuku can actually duplicate quirks like he theorized. That could be a game changer if he could copy other people's quirks without having to steal them. Daigoro's voice sounded with excitement. It was fascinating how he combined our powers, Daigoro. I would like to see how he combines others as well as separates them into copies if he can. Bruce's voice responded to Daigoro's excitement with a calm voice. Maybe he can copy Nizu's high intellect power and be able to think like All for One, or steal that type of power from All for One. Akari's voice said meekly, not used to talking to other quirks inside someone before. That's a good idea, Akari. I'll try to do that tonight whether or not I can copy Principal Nizu's high intellect quirk. Both would be good for me and combining them might be better than just having one. Izuku thought to the vestiges in his head as All Might knocked on the door. Come in. A high-pitched voice called out from inside the office. All Might opened the door. Izuku properly saw the principal for the first time and he was indeed an animal with a quirk and not a human with an animal-based mutation quirk. He sensed the quirk inside of the principal and found multiple quirks inside of him. He would have to touch them to determine which quirk was for what, but he had a good idea that some of the quirks were for his sapience, his semi-anthropomorphism, his ability to talk, and his high intellect. Can All Might stay with me while I talk with you? It might make things go faster if he's here, since I already explained to him what I'm guessing I'm here to explain to you. Izuku told Nizu, who nodded. I don't see a problem with it. By all means, but perhaps we should have All Might in, what did you call it, his small might form? I found that quite hilarious when he first told me about it and it's starting to catch on with the staff. You weren't mentioned as the origin of the nickname, though, to keep your connection to All Might a secret for now. Principal Nizu told Izuku, who sighed in relief and sat down with Small Might next to him on a couch in Principal Nizu's office. All Might waved the steam out of his face. Thank you for this reprieve. I can use it to keep up appearances for longer today with this cool down. Now, why don't we get into why you wanted to talk to him? He still has other classes to do today. He told his boss, who just smiled at All Might. Very well, but it sounds like you are the boy's father, Toshinori. I knew that finding a successor would lead to this, especially one so young. Principal Nizu told All Might before turning to Izuku. I was told that your father could be all for one. I need you to look me in the eyes and tell me, in all honesty, that you won't go to him if given the chance. He told the green-haired young man. Izuku blinked at this. Surely this can't be that easy. There's more than what is going on. He thought to himself quickly. I won't join him, if that's what you're asking. I wanted to be a hero, even if I was forever quirkless. If I failed to get into UA at all without a quirk, I would have taken up vigilantism. That might bring all for one to me, but I would just try to take him down, even if I died trying. Izuku told Principal Nizu honestly, not caring that he admitted that he was going to commit a crime if things didn't go his way. Izuku stared deeply into Nizu's eyes and saw the calculating look in them, before he nodded. That's enough for me. You are completely honest. Now, let's talk about your quirk so we don't have to lie to Shoyuta and your classmates. Principal Nizu told Izuku. And I want your true quirk, not the fabrication you gave to the quirk registry and to your classmates. I heard that you had a theory that you can combine and possibly duplicate quirks? Would you like to try with my higher intellect? He asked the green-haired young man. That was suggested by the vestiges in my head, yes. Izuku admitted. But first, I have to figure out which of your quirks is your higher intellect. Because you have multiple quirks, which I think points to your sapience and ability to talk if you really are an animal with a quirk, instead of a person with an animal-based quirk. I'll need to touch the strings I see to determine which quirk is which. He explained and got a nod from Nizu to continue. Izuku reached out and grabbed onto all of the strings, feeling their powers flow into his mind. He then separated them into his other hand before letting them go if they weren't his higher intellect. Once he found the string with the higher intellect quirk, which was the last one he checked, he put 2 hands on it and tried splitting it and it worked, becoming 2 strings. You can take the quirk now. The overestimation of having 2 of the same quirk is too much even for me. Nizu said. Izuku pulled on the copied quirk and pulled it into him. There was a beat before he felt a flash of pain in his head that went away just as fast as it came. When the pain went away, he could feel the overstimulation Principal Nizu was talking about. He could see things happening that weren't actually happening, but could if he moved one tiny thing. Izuku also had plenty of ideas on how to combine his quirks to make exciting combos. Your quirk really is a rush. I see things that aren't happening and could happen if I did a tiny thing. I can also see what results combining my powers will give me before I even test them out. I'll have to call this butterfly effect, or something because of the external uses of this power, and to keep it going with my explanation of my power to the quirk registration and my classmates. Speaking of my classmates, I think Aoyama is here to spy on UA for all for one. My danger sense keeps going off when I focus on the blonde boy. I don't know what it's about honestly, but I can feel that it has something to do with All Might and All for One. All for One is a hoarder. Of quirks, of people, of knowledge. He could have people everywhere to enact some plan or gather information. With All Might teaching our class, it's the perfect opportunity to do something. I see something happening in the USJ and it is being attacked. I don't know how likely it is or if your power was heightened by one for all, but that is just what I see. It's starting to freak me out. Izuku explained and only stopped when he felt a comforting presence in his mind. It's going to be okay. Whether or not the USJ will be attacked, you have informed the right people about it. They might not be there immediately, but we have also seen the scene play out. You and your class should be able to hold them off until help arrives. Akari told Izuku in his mind, calming him down. You're quite good at this. Were you a therapist or something when you were alive? Nana asked Akari. A psychiatrist, actually. I have practiced calming people down from panic attacks, which is what was going to happen if it went on any longer. Akari told Nana in Izuku's mind. What just happened? All Might asked Izuku. One of the newer vestiges was a psychiatrist while she was alive. She calmed me down and talked with Nana Shimura for a bit in my mind. I theorized that with practice, they can take control of my body if I'm out of commission mentally or unconscious. That should come in handy later on, and I can say it's automatic puppetry, or something if it works while I'm unconscious. Izuku rambled, but stopped himself the moment before it became too long. It's certainly a good power to have if that is the case. Principal Nizu's voice sounded in Izuku's mind, startling the green-haired young man. Did you just talk to me in my mind, or was that your vestige? Izuku asked Principal Nizu. Did the voice say, it's certainly a good power to have if that is the case? If so, then yes and no. I thought about it, but I guess I can communicate with the vestige of myself in your body, since we both have the quirk. That will be good if the USJ certainly is attacked while you students are there. Try sending me a message through my vestige. Nizu told Izuku, who nodded. Testing, testing. 1, 2, can you hear me? Izuku thought towards the principal's vestige and the real-life Nizu nodded. I can hear you just fine. Good work, young Midoriya. Principal Nizu responded. Now try it with Toshinori. He might have given up one for all, but he still has a partial vestige, yes? Nizu asked Izuku. The other users of One for All did say that the vestige of All Might was connected to his living body. Let me try. Izuku told the principal and focused on All Might's vestige. Can you hear me, All Might? Izuku asked in his mind. Yes, I can, young Midoriya. This is an impressive use of One for All. It will help if there is a dangerous situation you find yourself in. All Might said in Izuku's mind. This is awesome. Izuku exclaimed and wrote it all down in code in his journey notebook. I wonder if I can duplicate my own quirks and give them to someone. I haven't tried that because how do I explain someone getting new powers, and how do I tell my mother I want an animal to test my hidden true quirk on? I know that sounds bad and I don't want to hurt an animal, but I really want to test out my power like that. He told the two people in the room. Why don't you try copying your regeneration ability onto Toshinori? That way he can have his organs back and be at full strength for the duration of his time at UA. Principal Nizu suggested. How would we explain my returned health? All Might asked the principal. We can't just say that young Midoriya healed me with one of his powers, can we? He asked another question. Well, I can combine quirks, so what if I copied Recovery Girl's quirk and combined it with hyper-regeneration and made it possible to have regenerative healing powers to give you back your full body? You said Recovery Girl already knows about One for All, so it won't be like we're telling a lie if she consents to me copying her quirk. The only awkward part is that I'll have to kiss your body to activate the quirk combination since hyper-regeneration is normally a passive quirk. We might have to go into her infirmary to do it because last I heard, her powers uses a person's stamina to heal themselves, and from what I can gather from Butterfly Effect, it will take multiple attempts before you're fully healed, but you won't be in your muscle form when you finish healing. You'll still be Small Might most of the time, but you shouldn't lose any time if you push yourself in your muscle form. Izuku rambled on and only stopped when the door to Principal Nizu's office opened and Recovery Girl stepped inside and closed the door behind her. I already called her while you were rambling. Luckily she was close by, so she came here before you could make your rambles too long. Principal Nizu told Izuku, whose face turned red. Who do I have to heal? Is it Toshinori's successor? Recovery Girl asked, apparently not having been told the real reason she was called. Toshinori. We wanted to ask you if you would allow Toshinori's successor to copy your quirk and combine it with his hyper-regeneration to regeneratively heal Toshinori. Will you do it? We might need to use your infirmary for a few days while he rests up, but it should only take a few days, maybe a week total. Principal Nizu then explained all he learned about Izuku from All Might, and Recovery Girl agreed. I don't think we should use my infirmary. We should use someplace else and say that he is undergoing an experimental procedure to heal himself and needs time off to heal. We can do it at my place so I can keep my eye on him. I can give my address to the boy after I become a vestige. I can also give him advice on how to treat others' wounds when it would be too dangerous to heal them with the telepathy between us. Recovery Girl said and stood in front of Izuku. Izuku grabbed onto Recovery Girl's quirk string and separated it into two strings and pulled the copied string into him, There was another flash of pain in his head as the quirk settled, and it went away in just a second. He could feel her presence in his mind as she talked with Nana as an old friend. Izuku continued to ignore the conversation and focused on the new power of his own. I wonder if I can do this without using my hands. It would be good for sneakily grabbing quirks from people without having them figure it out. Maybe I should copy my mom's quirk, then that might be a possibility. That would mean telling her the truth about my power though. I better not risk it. Izuku thought to himself, deciding it was better to not risk his mother being a target with All for One. Should I tell my mom about my quirk? Izuku asked, mostly to himself, against his first decision, having visions of it being a good thing and a bad thing all at once with the butterfly effect quirk he got from Nizu. Why do you want to tell your mom? All Might asked. First it was because I wanted the telekinesis she has to grab and copy quirks with my mind, but then I would probably have to tell her about One for All and All for One. I figured that with the boost from One for All, I could already grab quirks with my mind if I wanted to. But then I saw some visions that were both good and bad when telling my mom about it all. I don't know what would be the actual outcome though. Humans are so complicated right now. I'll need more practice with butterfly effect to determine what is the most likely outcome. It mostly seems to be good when you're with me, All Might. Probably to explain a few things that I wouldn't have the courage to. Would that be possible? Or would that only put a target on her back with my father? Izuku asked after rambling for a minute. I find it best to tell the direct family the truth, and if the worst happens, you can stay at either UA or at Toshinori's place as his successor. Both aren't the best options right now, but they can work. Principal Nizu told Izuku and All Might. Wouldn't that just attract paparazzi and that they'll call me All Might's secret love child or something? I have a strength augmentation quirk, like he does, according to the public, and it could be seen as we're related. Also, with staying at UA, wouldn't that just be playing favorites or something? Where would I even stay in the school? Izuku asked several questions to the principal. You would stay in the emergency bedrooms we have for situations just like what you're imagining. As for favorites, let me deal with that. As for the paparazzi thinking you're Toshinori's love child, let them think that. It will lessen the blow if you are ever discovered to be All for One's child. I doubt Toshinori would think badly about it. Principal Nizu told Izuku as the green-haired young man just looked at his principal and blinked a few times. Izuku was having several visions of what it would be like if people thought that he was All Might's secret child, and they would soften the blow if he was ever discovered as All for One's child. All Might wouldn't let a child live with him that was evil, or maybe he would be keeping watch on Izuku in case he goes bad. That would be what the reporters would think. I can see that working. Should we do it before or after we have healed All Might? Izuku asked, convinced that whatever would happen, he would have support, unlike when he thought he was quirkless. Let's wait until I'm fully healed. I don't want to be coughing up blood in your house, or during the talk with your mother. Are you sure that you want to tell her? It would undoubtedly put a target on her back, and she might still be loyal to All for One as her husband. All Might said, and Izuku shook his head. She gave up on him when he walked out on us when he discovered that I was quirkless, or false quirkless now that we know that I do have a quirk. She curses his name, or the name she knew him by, almost daily. She says that I'm lucky that I look more like her than my father, who had white hair. He left maybe 5 years before you fought him and took on your injuries. Izuku explained to his favorite hero and chuckled. I was probably some experiment or something for his dying body. If there are quirks that let you live long lives, then his is surely coming to an end. He'll need a replacement body soon if he wants to continue being this demon lord that everybody fears. Izuku told everyone in the room, who all had wide eyes. Didn't think of that. He might be after you and Toshinori sooner than I thought. You might be right about the attack on the USJ. I'll tell the teachers to be on standby, saying that your quirk analysis of me gave your subtle precognition based off of seemingly random information. We can still call it butterfly effect, but you should expect to talk about your quirk with some of the teachers. Use the explanation you gave the quirk registry and your classmates. Nizu told Izuku as he typed something on his computer. Now, there was something else that I wanted to ask you about. During the practical exam, you hesitated twice, once with a bald-headed kid named Minoru Mineta, and once with Yuga Aoyama. You already told me why you hesitated on saving Aoyama, but why did you hesitate saving Mineta? The principal asked the green-haired young man. That was because he disgusted me from before in the changing rooms. He wanted to sneak into the girls' changing room to watch them change. It disgusted me and I debated for a moment to save him because of that. Ida can testify about that because he stopped Mineta for his crude behavior. I was taught to respect women and to not respect anyone who didn't. I only saved him because I thought that points would be docked if I saw what was about to happen and didn't do anything. That was all. He didn't activate danger sense like Aoyama did. It's like Aoyama is walking danger and destruction. I don't know how to explain it better. Izuku explained and got nods from everyone in the principal's office. That's a good thing that you and young Ida decided to stop Mineta from violating the girls' changing area. Good on you as well for not letting that stop you from saving him when he needed the help. Recovery Girl told Izuku, who gave a small smile. Yes, it is truly despicable that someone would try to do that. You did good on still saving him despite your feelings about him. Same with young Aoyama. You had your danger sense going off from the blonde boy and you still saved him, even when it could have been disastrous for you. All Might told Izuku, who nodded. I wasn't going to let a life be lost on my account. Even if there were safety precautions in place, I wouldn't want that on my conscience. Izuku told everyone in the principal's office, to which everyone nodded. I already have Shoyuta looking at Aoyama closely. So he will know if something goes down, but I sent a message to him explaining that you analyzed my quirk and got the seemingly random precognition ability you're calling butterfly effect. I told him to keep an even closer eye on Aoyama to make sure that he isn't working for All for One, not that I said it was about All for One, but a villain bent on infiltrating Yue. Nizu told Izuku, who nodded seriously and got an assured nod in return. I think we should start healing Toshinori this weekend and only do it on the weekends. Recovery Girl told Izuku and All Might. Just to make sure that he has enough stamina to go through with it. She added and got nods of approval from the two boys. That will give me time to build on what to say to Mississippi Midoriya about One for All and All for One. And to possibly set up a room for young Midoriya if it all goes bad. All Might said, bringing some warmth to Izuku's heart. I just hope it doesn't come to that for your sake, young Midoriya. He added sincerely and almost brought tears to Izuku's eyes. Thank you, All Might. It really means a lot to me that you would let me stay with you if things go badly. Izuku told All Might, who put a hand on his shoulder. You're my successor. Of course I'll look after you. I wouldn't abandon you just because of something simple like that. All Might told Izuku, squeezing the green-haired young man's shoulder. I want to know all the powers that you have, or stole from All for One. Can you tell me that? Principal Nizu asked Izuku, who nodded. I only stole 4 powers from All for One so far. They are hyper-regeneration, shock absorption, air propulsion, and negation field. I can combine hyper-regeneration and shock absorption to be able to use 100% of One for All, and negation field takes away people's quirks, even the heteromorphs' quirks, and turns them into regular human beings. I can create a buffer zone that allows quirks to exist inside of the negation field, so it can be useful for long range. Air propulsion is just what it sounds like. It allows the user to blow high-speed air from any part of their body, even through clothes. Izuku explained his stolen powers to Principal Nizu. I plan to take more tonight. At least 2 more to make it consistent with what I have been doing. He told everyone in his room his plan. If I find his long-living quirk, I might take that as well to really F with him and make him weaker. Pardon my language. He added with an apology for what he said. That's a good idea, young Midoriya, but he might have more than one long-living quirk to make sure he stays alive. But I'm sure that you'll make him desperate when you take that away, because he will surely notice that it is missing. He might just get sloppy and practically hand himself over to me, and you won't have to deal with him at all and live your life in peace, while becoming the new symbol of peace. All Might told Izuku with a genuine smile with closed eyes. That might be for the best. I have a theory about One for All and how I died. I think having multiple quirks puts a strain on a person's body, and not having a quirk is the best to host the power. You might be fine either way because your body might be built to house several quirks, but having a long life quirk might make things easier for you. Hikage's voice sounded through Izuku's mind. It might be why Toshinori was able to use one for all so long past how long I had the quirk for. I died of old age, even though I was 40 years old when I died. I had one for all for 18 years total before I passed it to Daigoro. He told Izuku. Hikage just said, Izuku started, but was interrupted by the three people in the office. We heard. All three of them said in unison. The four of the people in the principal's office went on a tangent on how to make sure that Izuku survived having the quirks in his body, just in case he wasn't built for it. All Might and Recovery Girl suggested Izuku steal all of the life-extending quirks from One for All, while Nizu was certain that the hyper-regeneration, boosted by One for All, would be enough to handle it all for Izuku. This went on for the rest of the classes because it was important and everyone lost track of time. Izuku was exiting the school when the final bell finally rang with a plan to steal all of the lifetime-enhancing quirks all for one had. It was agreed that it was better safe than sorry. Izuku had gone to change out of his gym clothes, because he didn't change when he went to Principal Nizu's office. When he made it outside, both Uraraka and Ida were seemingly waiting for him in front of UA. Midoriya, what did the principal want? You're not expelled, are you? Ida asked his green-haired friend. Yeah. We heard Mr. Aizawa tell you to go to the principal's office after the quirk evaluation tests about your quirk. What was that about? Is it similar to a villain's quirk that they thought about expelling you on the spot? That doesn't seem fair. Uraraka started to ramble, but stopped when Izuku put his hands in the air. I'm not expelled. There was some speculation about the origin of my quirk, but it was more about how it worked and how to train it properly because I will be getting more and more powers the more people I analyze. It ran long because I was allowed to analyze Principal Nizu's quirk up close and even got a similar power that is almost like precognition that I'm calling butterfly effect. I could see things play out with seemingly random pieces of information. I'll need to study it more to find out the triggers or whatever makes me see visions, but it's an interesting power. Principal Nizu also wanted to know why I hesitated saving two people during the practical exam. One was a boy named Minor Mineta, and the reason I hesitated was because he had wanted to sneak into the girls' changing area. Ida, you know who I'm talking about, the bald-headed kid. Anyway, the second person was someone who I can't say until we determine the actual reason for why I hesitated. The person just set off my danger sense when I look at them and still does. Principal Nizu has the school on high alert in case anything happens or starts to happen. They trusted my judgment and I don't want to fail their expectations. As for potential quirk origins, there was some talk with one of All Might's really old villains, but that has been tabled because Principal Nizu said it didn't matter because I wanted to be a hero. Izuku rambled and his new friends just listened silently through the whole thing without interruptions. That's good that you aren't being expelled because of your quirk. Having a special training regimen from the principal of UA himself is amazing. You have lucked out, Midoriya. Ida told Izuku with a proud smile. Yeah. I was so scared, I couldn't focus on the rest of the classes today. Thankfully there wasn't much we did today, as it was still an orientation day for the most part. I can't wait to see if you can copy my quirk, or Ida's by tonight or when we're able to see each other use our quirks. Uraraka said with a huge smile on her face. I don't know if I can say that I've analyzed either of your quirks yet, but I can try. You two really don't mind adding to my skill set? Izuku asked, nervous about having friends that actually wanted to help him. Absolutely. Adding to a hero's repertoire is always a good thing. I would be very impressed if you acquired super speed by analyzing my quirk for your use. Uraraka said boisterously. Besides, what are friends for? He asked Izuku. So we are friends. I thought of you two as friends today, but I didn't want to get my hopes up because my last friend was Kaken, or Bakugu, and you saw how that turned out. Izuku said, getting nods from both of his new friends. I hate that that might be true. You are so kind and nice to everyone. You didn't stare at any of the girls as they did the tests, and all of us agreed that you were at least respectable. Both you and Ida. Don't be surprised if you make more friends with the girl population of the class. Some of us agreed that you two deserve more friends if you keep up the respectable behavior. Uraraka told both boys as they started walking away from you. I could also see Yaoyorozu blush a little when we talked about you, Midoriya. She especially liked when you kept diligent notes during the tests on both your quirk and others. Why do you keep records of others' quirks anyway? Uraraka asked Izuku. Yaoyorozu is the ponytail girl with the creation quirk, right? She was pretty and she seemed extra smart from the way she talked. Like a walking encyclopedia. It was nice to hear her talk. Izuku said with a light dusting of pink on his cheeks. Anyways, I kept others' quirks in my notebook at first to understand how they function and how to help the people use their quirks, then it became a habit and nobody liked when I would study them. Then it was for my quirk and to give myself more powers. I just always did it since I was 4 and thought I was quirkless. Izuku explained his note-taking to his two friends. Admirable reasons. It fits with how you took notes during the quirk evaluation tests. I'll be pleased to hear more about what you learn and theorize about my engine quirk. Ida told Izuku, who smiled brightly as he was told that. Same with my zero-gravity quirk. Uraraka told Izuku, who smiled brighter. Have you tried to make things heavier? Like increasing gravity? Izuku asked Uraraka. I haven't actually. I'll test it out. What do you think I could think of when I try to do that? Uraraka asked Izuku. What do you think of when making things lighter? If you think the opposite of that, it might be enough, but it doesn't. Try thinking about adding weight to something or act like it is heavier than it really is when you activate your quirk. Izuku told Uraraka. I'll do that. That sounds like a good idea. See you two later. I need to catch the bus. Uraraka said as she ran ahead of the boys. Bye, Uraraka. Both Ida and Izuku called out to Uraraka. I should hurry home now as well. Goodbye, Midoriya. Ida said before he sped off with his engine legs. Izuku had eaten dinner and went to bed early to meditate on getting more powers from All for One. When he got to the mental palace, he found all of the users and the 6 other vestiges that he had gotten. He wasn't used to having Recovery Girl and Nizu in his mind, so he was thrown for a loop for a second. They were all standing around All for One's vestige box. Ready to become practically immortal? Nizu asked Izuku as the green-haired young man went behind the box to the quirk strings. Yeah, but I still plan to take 2 quirks just for myself. Do it. Decide on copying the life-extending quirks, or just flat-out stealing them? Izuku asked his principal's vestige. Flat-out stealing. He will be weakened from all of them leaving his body and become desperate. That way he will be sloppy and we can defeat him without you needing to lift a finger to fight him. Nizu told Izuku, who nodded and started sifting through the quirks All for One had. After an hour, Izuku found all of the life-extending quirks in All for One's repertoire and stole them from him. He also found 2 quirks that he wanted and they were alchemy, which could transmute any non-organic material into another non-organic material. He also got telekinesis, which had no limit in how much it could lift with the wielder's mind. Izuku stole them from All for One and they gave him their quirks to stop the so-called Demon Lord. Izuku felt the slight pain in his head at absorbing the 6 powers and felt his lifespan greatly increase, or at least that was what he thought he was feeling. All of the new vestiges were women, which pleased Nana Shimura greatly because, as she said, it was quite the sausage fest in here. Izuku then woke up from his meditation and tested his telekinesis and alchemy and found that they worked pretty well. He then went to sleep because he suddenly felt very tired and went to sleep. Izuku and Class 1A had normal classes in the mornings and ate top-notch food for dirt cheap. The class was at lunch before their hero basic training classes while Izuku, Ida, and Uraraka were sitting with each other and talking about Izuku's quirk, or at least the one where he gave them the fake explanation of his quirk. Uraraka had successfully made something heavier and planned on changing her quirk on the quirk registry to gravity manipulation. Ida explained that he already had a special move planned, since he found out from Izuku that they didn't need to be an attack. Ida called it Reciproburst and it topped his speed to the absolute limit for 5 minutes. Izuku could have gotten a super speed quirk from All for One last night, but decided to wait until he could feasibly say that he analyzed Ida's ability. Izuku showed his 2 friends and whoever was sitting near them his new powers, alchemy and telekinesis, by using it to levitate several items at once and moving them in complicated directions. Ida and Uraraka were impressed, as well as Yaoyorozu, who was sitting on his other side. She complimented Izuku on his analysis ability, which caused the green-haired young man's face to turn red and cause him to stammer a thanks. Curse Uraraka and her telling me about Yaoyorozu and her liking my note-taking. Now I can't even act normal around her and she'll find me gross. Izuku thought as he apologized to Yaoyorozu for his stammering. She thanked him for the apology with a smile, but said that there was nothing to apologize for. Yaoyorozu's right, Izuku. Not every girl is going to be disgusted with you just for blushing and stuttering at a compliment. Akari told Izuku in his mind. Some will take it as a compliment, and others will take it as normal if the person stuttering shows signs like yours of not having very many friends. She said in a comforting tone. Izuku outwardly ignored the voice in his head, but thanked Akari for what she said. Everyone quickly finished eating and went to their hero classes for the day. Everyone was excited to have All Might teaching them. Some didn't believe he would actually do it, believing that the acceptance videos were just a promotional gimmick. Izuku knew otherwise but didn't show it, letting the others be surprised by themselves. Every student was waiting in their seats, acting very impatient as they waited when the door burst open. I have come through this door like normal. All Might said boastingly and laughed at what he said, either because he was hanging off the doorway, or because of some joke he made. Izuku wasn't sure, but the class went wild. It's All Might. He's really gonna teach us? Kaminari exclaimed in excitement. That's his Silver Age costume. Izuku said to whoever would listen, allowing himself to geek out along with everyone. He's drawn so differently than the rest of us. Gives me goosebumps. He said, like he hasn't seen him for the past 10 months before today. Hero basic training. All Might yelled to the class. The class that will put you through all sorts of special training to mold you into heroes. He told the class. It also gives a ton of credits. All Might added after his little exciting intro. No time to dally. Today's activity is this. All Might said before showing the class a card in his hand with the word, battle, in big letters. Battle training. He said, in an excited tone, like he couldn't wait to watch his students fight each other. Isn't that a bit much for the first day of actual hero classes? Izuku thought to himself as the walls protruded suitcases on the far left wall in the front of the classroom. Looks like I'll need to prepare some beds in my infirmary for your class, young Midoriya. Recovery Girl's voice sounded in Izuku's mind. And for that you'll need these. All Might said as he presented the suitcases. In accordance with the Quirk registry and the special request forms you filled out before being admitted, he trailed off for dramatic effect. Costumes. All Might yelled, causing the entire class to be excited, well, except for Izuku, who didn't get to fill in his costume request form. Izuku wondered what was in his suitcase as he followed everyone else to the changing rooms and went inside. When he opened it, he found that it was his design and a note from his mom that she made it as a reward for making it into UA. She had found his notes and designs and went from there. Izuku cried a little at how much his mom cared and put it all on. He hated that he still might have to get the support course to change the general design to look more heroic and not like a bunny with a toothy grin. But his mom did what she could based off of his designs. He was happy with that. When Izuku put on his suit, he noticed all of the other boys walking out of the changing room. He hurried behind them and walked behind them, standing in the back of the class, between Ida and Uraraka, to partially hide from All Might, who had definitely seen how he looked and covered his mouth, to hide how terrible it looked, or to hide the laughter of how stupid and how like All Might it looked. Izuku didn't know then. Ida looks like Ingenium. I guess I know who his favorite hero is. Uraraka looks so uncomfortable in her costume. Maybe I should comment on that, or maybe she chose for it to be like that. I don't know, I don't want to be a creep. Izuku thought to himself as he looked at his two friends. Cool costume, Midoriya. Very practical. Uraraka told Izuku with a smile that didn't look forced. I wish I had been more specific on my request form. This suit is so puffy and tight. It's embarrassing. She said, her embarrassment showing through nervous laughter. Maybe you could ask the support course to make it into a slightly more baggy material. Not too much, or you risk it getting caught on something or getting grabbed in a fight. I was thinking of getting an upgraded suit when I can because my mom made mine off of some unfinished designs I made when I was still believed to be quirkless. Maybe something to reinforce my arms and legs for fighting. Maybe you should get something for nausea. I know that rapid changes in a person's gravity can cause nausea, and that there is a pressure point in the wrists that alleviates that nausea a bit. Maybe you can ask for that if you haven't already. It's your quirk. Sorry if I overstepped my bounds. Izuku rambled, earning an audience from the class and teacher. Sorry, everyone, for disrupting class time. He apologized to the class, shrinking in on himself. Yaoyorozu spoke up. You were helping another student with their suit ideas. It's nothing to be ashamed about. You gave your ideas and reasoning behind them. It's good to apologize, but you were helping a friend, so it's all right. Everyone, except Kaken, nodded in agreement. Totally. I'll use your ideas when I can go to the support course. I have dealt with nausea all my life because of my quirk. If you have any more ideas on how to help with the nausea, I'll be more than happy to accept them. Uraraka told Izuku with a bright smile on her face. I'll also ask for slightly baggier fabric for my suit because, as I said, it's a bit tight. She added and turned to face the class and teacher. All Might coughed enough to gather everybody's attention. Today we'll be doing indoor anti-personnel battle training. He told the class loudly. Villain battles are more commonly seen outdoors, but statistically, the most heinous villains are more likely to appear indoors. All Might started his explanation of today's events. Between confinement, house arrest, and black market deals, in this hero-filled society of ours, the cleverest villains out there lurk indoors. He continued. You'll now be split into villain teams and hero teams and face off in 2-on-2 indoor battles. He said in excitement, bringing chaos to the class as they cheered at their activity. So no practical training? The frog girl Azuya. So it's not just me that thought this might be too much. Izuku thought to himself as he prepared himself mentally to fit into either a villain role or a hero role. Practical experience teaches you the basics. All Might responded to Azui. The distinction here is that you won't be fighting disposable robots. He added with a raised finger. What determines victory? Yaoyorozu asked All Might. Can I just blast everyone away? Kaken asked All Might. Are you threatening to expel someone like Mr. Aizawa did? Uraraka asked All Might. How do we proceed to divide ourselves into teams? Ida asked All Might. How fabulous is my cape? Aoyama asked anybody in particular. One at a time. My quirk isn't super hearing. All Might strangled out before calming down. Listen up. Here's the deal. The villains will be hiding a nuclear weapon in the hideout. And the heroes have to go in and take care of it. All Might started explaining the win conditions that Yaoyorozu asked for. The heroes have a limited amount of time to either capture the villains or secure the weapon. The villains must either capture the heroes or defend the weapon until the time is up. He had answered Yaoyorozu's question, which he seemed to be reading off of a piece of paper. Your battle partners will be decided by drawing lots. All Might then answered Ida's question by holding a box of lots. Is that really the best way? Ida asked All Might in disbelief. Makes sense. Izuku started. Because pros often have to team up with heroes from other agencies on the spot during emergencies. He told Ida, who bowed to All Might. I see. I apologize for getting ahead of myself, my mistake. Ida told All Might as he bowed. It's fine. Let's just get to it. All Might said in response to Ida's apology. Izuku and Yaoyorozu were Team A, Shoji and Todoroki were Team B, Uraraka and Shinso were Team C, Ida and Kaken were Team D, Ashido and Aoyama were Team E, Koda and Sato were Team F, Jiro and Kaminari were Team G, Azui and Tokoyami were Team H, Hagakure and Ojiro were Team I, and Kirishima and Siro were Team J. It's nice to team with you, Midoriya. Yaoyorozu told Midoriya, who nodded. It's nice to be on the same team with one of the smarter people in the class. I hope we get to make an excellent plan together. We should start comparing notes on how we want to proceed. If we want an aesthetic or not. I was thinking of combining my danger sense, smoke screen, and telekinesis. If we're villains, to sense my surroundings and move stuff without having to see where I'm moving them to. What do you think of spiders? I can use my new alchemy power to make sticky strings that seem like spider webs, and you could make spiders of varying sizes for me to move around. Izuku rambled and Yaoyorozu just smiled fondly and nodded at the idea. You should also make a gas mask, just in case my smoke makes it hard to breathe in the building. It's not poisonous, but I haven't tested if it's safe to breathe in for a long while. He added, and Yaoyorozu nodded seriously and made the gas mask in preparation. If we're the villains, we should weld metal plates to the door. If you want to stay out of the room while I do that to keep the heroes distracted, that would be great. If we're heroes, I'll be depending on you, since my quirk is only creating non-organic things out of my lipids. It won't be useful for capturing people or a weapon. Yaoyorozu told Izuku, who nodded and smiled as he liked the plans. You could totally use your quirk to make HNDCFFS appear on someone's wrist and pull their arms back to cuff them together. It may take some practice if you haven't thought of it before, but it should be possible. Izuku told Yaoyorozu, who smiled at the green-haired young man. I might just try that. Yaoyorozu told Izuku, not having thought of using her quirk like that before. She was excited to both try it in the exercise and to practice it at home. Let's get started. For the first hero team is Team A. All Might said as he pulled out a ball with the letter A on it. For the first villain team is Team D. He said as he pulled out a ball with the letter I on it. I guess we're heroes. There goes my aesthetic plan. Izuku said, a bit disappointed. Yeah. I was really ready to weld the door shut to keep the heroes out of the room with the weapon. Yaoyorozu said, disappointed as well. I'm gonna cream you, Deku. Kaken growled at Izuku. Sorry, Midoriya. Ida apologized that they had to face each other. You have nothing to apologize for, Ida. You didn't choose to be partnered with an angry Pomeranian. Izuku told Ida, not catching the real reason why Ida was apologizing. I'll effing kill you. Kaken yelled at Izuku angrily, having to be held back by Ida as Yaoyorozu chuckled lightly. That was clever. He really does look like an angry Pomeranian. Yaoyorozu told Izuku as Ida and Kaken went inside the building to prepare for their part of the activity. You said that you could sense things with your smoke if you combine it with your telekinesis and danger sense, right? Does that apply to alchemy as well? We could always just levitate the weapon out of a window or something and not have to deal with the villain's PRD. She added with a few questions. It should. Nice plan. Very practical, and it would be something pro-heroes would do. Let's do that. Izuku said, seeing the outcome as being likely to win and even be the best win in the activity. After 5 minutes for Team D to hide their fake nuclear weapon, Team A was allowed to start trying to capture the weapon or villains. Izuku let out the smoke screen and combined it with danger sense to find the room where Ida and Kaken were hiding the weapon. Izuku found them on the top floor with the weapon next to the window. He combined alchemy and telekinesis once Kaken left the room to look for Yaoyorozu and Izuku, who hadn't even stepped inside. Izuku opened the window with alchemy to make a big enough hole in the wall for the weapon. Then he used telekinesis to levitate the weapon off of the floor and move it out of the hole in the wall. Once it was out of the hole, Izuku silently closed the hole back to its original state, leaving no trace it had opened. Yaoyorozu and Izuku went to the weapon and touched it as it touched the ground, earning them the win. The heroes win with a stunning use of multiple powers. They didn't even make a sound as they stole the weapon right from under the villains' noses. All Might announced, and everyone heard a scream of rage from Kaken for not being able to fight Izuku. Young Bakugo, just because they had a better plan, doesn't mean you can be a sore loser. I heard of what you tried to do to young Midoriya yesterday with Aizawa. I might not have the authority to directly expel somebody, but I can petition it if you go after either young Midoriya or young Yaoyorozu for their flawless victory. Be warned. All Might warned Kaken with a chilling tone that sent shivers in his students' spines. Good job with everything, Midoriya. I'm a little upset that I couldn't try to handcuff somebody the way you mentioned, but a win is a win and we treated this as if it were real, so we should get extra points. Yaoyorozu told Izuku with a bright smile with closed eyes. Sorry I didn't let you do anything. It was just, your plan was so good that I thought it would be fine, but I forgot that we're a team and we should have made a plan where we work together. I'm sorry. Izuku apologized nervously and Yaoyorozu hugged him in response. I made the plan with the knowledge that I wouldn't have a role to play. My quirk, while it allows me to make any non-organic material, isn't very useful in a direct fight. It also seemed like Bakugo was going to be hunting for at least you, so I would have been on my own against Ida's speed. It wouldn't have been a good match. Yaoyorozu told Izuku while hugging him. Izuku could hardly pay attention as he had never been hugged by a girl before and blood was rushing to his head and his heart was thumping. Yaoyorozu let go of Izuku, who finally remembered how to breathe in air and spoke up. Your quirk is very useful. You could have made explosives to match Kaken, Bakugo, or you could have made flash grenades to blind and deafen him so you could have made a getaway, plus with Ida, you could have made a bunch of marbles or dust grenades to muck up Ida's engines. You wouldn't have been useless in the fight, you could have been the key to victory if we played it right. That got him a warm look from Yaoyorozu as they made their way to the viewing area for the next two teams after Izuku cleared his smoke. While everybody was in the monitoring room, All Might went over who was the MVP in the activity between teams A and D. Young Midoriya was the MVP. He used the combination of his powers to sneakily recover the nuclear weapon without Ida and Bakugo ever knowing. He did it with 0 damage to the building that would normally be expected in a fight indoors, but he was able to take the weapon out without too much trouble. All Might explained to the class, but Izuku raised his hand to be noticed. It was actually Yoyo's plan to have me telekinetically levitate the weapon down from where Ida and Kaken were keeping it. She deserves the MVP. I don't want to take credit for her idea. Izuku told All Might. She treated this as if it were a real situation and not a training exercise to exploit the constraints of. If it wasn't for her idea, we probably would have taken longer to figure out something with Kaken aiming to attack me and Ida's speed in the open area in the room where they kept the weapon. Izuku added, not wanting Yaoyorozu's contributions to be ignored. I agree with Midoriya. Jiro spoke up. If Yaoyorozu made the plan and Midoriya only followed it, then Yaoyorozu deserves the MVP. She added and looked at Yaoyorozu and Izuku with a smile. Very well. Yaoyorozu has earned the title of MVP for this round for her excellent plan. All Might relented, sounding a bit put off for his decision being put through a microscope. The next teams are B for the heroes and I for the villains. He said, drawing lots and ignoring the slightly judgmental looks from Jiro and Yaoyorozu for his tone of voice. Todoroki made a giant glacier out of the building to freeze Hagakure, who had taken off her gloves and shoes to sneak up on Todoroki and Shoji. Team B won easily after that because Todoroki froze Hagakure and Ojiro to the floor. Next were teams E as the heroes and F as the villains. Ashido just used her acid to slide quickly through the building to find the weapon and punched Koda and Sato before Sato could take any sugar, leaving Aoyama to capture the weapon. The battles went quickly after that, because the next battle was between Team G as heroes and Team C as villains. While Uraraka made the weapon float to the ceiling to make it harder to reach, Kaminari just entered the room and shocked both Shinso and Uraraka to SBMson and tied them with the capture tape. The last battle was between Team H as the heroes and Team J as the villains. Tokoyami had Dark Shadow stretched out, looking for the weapon, while Azui stuck to the walls to watch out for any attacks directed at them. Shiro used his tape to make any path to the weapon blocked while Kirishima went out to distract the heroes. When Dark Shadow found the room with the weapon, Azui jumped in without much of a plan and was caught in Shiro's tape and stuck to the wall. She couldn't even use her tongue because her mouth was covered by Shiro. Both Shiro and Kirishima went after Tokoyami and won in a 2-on-1 battle. It was an easy victory for the villains that round and Shiro quickly got the tape off of Azui's face that was keeping her from breathing.